Chapter 13:13. Number 576 looked at Chen Shihong and nodded. Please go ahead. Chen Shihong took a deep breath and said as if he was reporting, I found that there are many boats that can be used for both sail and oar. They are 6 to 7 times bigger than my fishing boat. They are too small for the ocean, too slow for transporting goods, and even more laborious for catching fish. They are like chicken ribs. Am I right? Yes, there are. They have been thrown in remote places at the docks. Some are even used as temporary warehouses. Do you want to buy them to fish? Number 576 asked. Chen Shihong shook his head hard. No, if I have the money to buy that boat, I would rather rent a steam engine boat with a trawl behind it. But I can't afford it. I don't have the wood and coal to burn. I have to go far away to catch big fish and fish that can't be found in the coastal waters. I want to let that kind of boat follow our small fishing boat. When we catch fish, we send them to the big boat. Look, like the school of fish we encountered now, the small boat will be filled very quickly. For the school of fish, there is no reduction at all. If there is a school of fish that is not fast enough to catch fish, but with the help of a big boat, we can bring back more fish, right? Whether it is rowing or sailing, it requires manpower. A person on the guard boat interrupted. Chen Shihong smiled at the person. Yes, it needs people to do it. But comparing the gains and losses, it is worth it. They only need to row or sail, they don't need to know how to fish. That boat is not suitable for fishing either. It is neither big nor small, and it can't carry a trawl. Even if it is given to me, I will not catch fish, but transport. This brother, you only think of people and not skills. I can row and sail, but my main skill is fishing. There is also the fishing team over there. They also have the ability to catch fish. But generally speaking, we waste time on the way to and back. When the boat is full, even if there is fish, we can only watch. For example, this time, we took a day and a half to come here, and another day and a half to go back. If we were not instructed and found the school of fish immediately, we would need more than half a day to fill the boat. Now that we found the school of fish, we can fill the boat with fish in 2 hours. What a pity. If we have a big boat, we can chase after the school of fish. How many fish can we catch in 10 to 10 hours? When Chen Shihong said this, everyone began to ponder. Just as he mentioned, it would take 3 days to go back and forth, and it would take half a day to fill the boat, which was too inefficient. If it was near the sea, Xiao Bao and Cuckoo were not allowed to set up nets. They could only do artificial farming and fishing, or as a tourist attraction, throw a few spinning nets on the boat to show the tourists. However, it was absolutely impossible for large-scale fishing fleets to sweep the area, or for steam engine ships to traverse the area with trawling nets. Therefore, everyone had to be a long distance away from the coastline before they could enter the fishing area. If it had been someone else who had requested this, no one would have bothered. However, since it was Xiao Bao and Cuckoo, they naturally had to obey. There had to be a very important reason. I'm willing to provide you with an interest-free loan so that you can buy a few of those useless boats. Number 57 felt that Chen Shihong's words were very reasonable. He could use some of the resources himself. Although it was not much, it was definitely not a problem to buy a few boats. As an intelligence officer, he understood that the main family's tax income decreased this year. It seemed that the main reason was that the main income had decreased. In fact, the real reason was that a large part of the funds had been used in the spy system, including the resources that each spy could control. There was also a large amount of overseas expenditure, which was directly deducted by the main family. However, the official account that would not be included in the tax collection could not be restricted by the little young master at all. Even if the cost accounting account book was handed over, the little young master could still get the money, and it would not be detected in the account book or theoretical deduction. The little young master would always have a way to deduct this part of the money, and at the same time, make others feel that it was normal. This was because the Ministry of Revenue could not audit all the transactions of the Zhang family and Wang family. Even if a dynamic rolling method was used to calculate, there would still be loopholes. Moreover, the main family's transactions were truly too many, including the direct withdrawal of shares and dividends and reinvestment. In addition, There was also the pricing of special goods, the benefits given to the officials in the capital, the high salary and the expenses of the plan to raise honest officials in the areas controlled by the Zhang family and Wang family, the regions where the goods were produced during disaster relief, and the cost of transportation. There were also other aspects and so on. Even if the officials of the Ministry of Revenue were exhausted to death, they would not be able to find out. Even if the great Tang Bank was not under the little young master's control and was directly handed over to the Ministry of Revenue, they would still be confused. The main family had too many subsidiaries, and they were in contact with each other and competed with each other. If the price fluctuated slightly, even if it followed the fluctuation of the price of the same industry at that time to calculate the profit and the stop-loss point, it was still impossible to avoid the existence of artificial factors. This was the asymmetrical factor that the little young master spoke of between the theory of capital operation and the actual control of it, unless one could know the hearts of everyone who actively and passively entered the capital operation link. Number 576 felt that he could not in this lifetime, so he thought that anyone who said that the income of the Zhang family and Wang family had decreased in recent years and was happy about it were all F***king idiots. Playing with the little young master, they were far from being able to do so. While he was thinking, Chen Shihong and the others were also thinking that this spy seemed to have a bit of power. Not only could he influence the annual examination of the officials, he could also provide loans, the kind that had no interest. Chen Shihong could not feel any envy or jealousy towards number 576. Xiao Bao and Cuckoo had always been very strict in the selection of personnel. First of all, they had to have a heart that was loyal to the great Tang in any situation, and loyalty to the Zhang family and Wang family was secondary. But the more this was the case, the more loyal everyone was to Xiao Bao and Cuckoo. They even felt that the great Tang with Xiao Bao and Cuckoo was the real great Tang. After that, they had to undergo the screening of intelligence training, physical fitness, and combat awareness. Only then could they enter the next round of examination. After layers of examination, the people who stayed were definitely the elites of the elites. This could be seen from the wounds on his body and the charm of his personality in his speech that he had put in a lot of effort. Chen Shihong did not think that he could go through this process and persist, so he looked at number 576 again and found that he was still as calm as before. "If I were your enemy," Chen Shihong suddenly muttered, and even made an attacking posture to test the waters. "Then you would already be dead." Number 576 put his hand on the spinal cord behind Chen Shihong's neck and said with a smile. Chen Shihong trembled. He felt that there was a sharp object touching his skin. "Is it a needle? The kind that is used to insert the spinal cord?" I read in the newspaper that it is easy to dislocate the spinal cord if there is always a hand patting the neck of the child. If there is something inserted, the child will lose consciousness in a very short time. After saying this, Chen Shihong stared at him and said, "Take your hand away. I admit that you are strong, but I am not afraid of you. I will tell Xiao Bao and Cuckoo." Number 576 smiled and retracted his hand. "I just want to let you know what is going on." "I know. I was wondering why I felt so relieved. It is because we are on the same team. The stronger you are, the more relieved I am. I am serious with you. I don't want to take a loan. I think that the hot air balloon is very useful. Let's cooperate." "The cost of the hot air balloon is very high," Number 576 reminded him. "Is it as high as the life of the fishermen of Tang Empire?" Chen Shihong asked. "You are arguing. If there is no young master and young lady, who do you think is higher between the life of the fully equipped hot air balloon and your life?" Number 576 said that others were arguing, so he followed suit. When Chen Shihong thought of this, his face changed. He immediately reacted and said, "Are you trying to scare me? You can't do without them. Without Xiao Bao and Cuckoo, there would be no hot air balloon. Who do you think is higher?" Then he said, "I am not going to buy a boat. It is not good to take a loan. I advise you to form a team. There are hot air balloons flying in the sky. They will not follow us. Will you not train? When we go out to sea, our small boat will follow the big boat. You will help to look for fish in the sky. You can see far. Otherwise, we used to look for seabirds. When you find fish, tell us. We will go and catch them. We will directly load the big boat. When one boat is full, we will go back and so on. We will take a part of the money from selling the fish, the people on the big boat will take a part, and the rest will be given to you to make hot air balloons. Everyone will benefit. The main thing is that with you flying above our heads, we will be relieved. With us below, when you are in danger during training, we can save you. Number 576 listened carefully and considered whether what Chan Shihong said was feasible. In the end, he thought it was a good cooperation project. Anyway, they were going to train, so it was not a big deal to train anyone. I personally agree with your proposal, but I can't make the decision. I need to ask for instructions. It is a waste to leave that kind of boat outside to be exposed to the wind, rain, and sun. It is hard to find a boatman, and the price of labor is expensive. If it was Xiaobao and Huan here, they definitely wouldn't be unable to think of a solution like you. It's a pity that they are busy in the West. I will give you some advice. Chen Shihong saw that the other party could not think of a good way at the moment, so he found an opportunity to show off. Number 576 smiled and then pretended to be humble. Please enlighten me. Chen Shihong smiled and was very happy. He pointed at Liuqiu Island and said, "There are people on the island. They do things on the island, but the efficiency is too low. In other words, the cost of labor is low." You know a lot. Number 576 praised him at the right time. Just so. Listen to me. You can discuss with them and tell them that you will give them benefits. They will row the boats and sail the sails. The remuneration will be paid in 2 ways. The first way is that we will catch fish and share it with them. The second way is that after they work for a certain amount of time, we will give them the boats. They have their own simple smelting place, they can weave, they can farm, and they can catch fish. But they lack more skills, so they can't make such a big boat. Look at their boats, they are just hollowed out pieces of wood, and they row inside. When I see their boats, I feel sorry for the wood. Those are all good wood, and it is a waste to hollowed out pieces of wood to make boats. They don't dare to send their bamboo and wooden rafts far away from the sea. If you give them boats, they will like it. When Chen Shihong talked about the situation on the island, he showed a sad expression, as if the wood used by the other party was from his family. Number 576's eyes lit up. After thinking for a while, he felt that it was feasible. The people on Liuqiu Island had their own social survival rules, but they did not cut off contact with the outside world. In the past, the people here always wanted to take advantage of others. Naturally, the chief of the tribe on the island was not willing to let them. So, he was beaten when he objected. Fortunately, the climate on the island was different from here. Otherwise, they would have been wiped out by the people of the previous dynasty. Of course, it had something to do with the rulers of the previous dynasty. The people in Fuzhou were not easy to control. In the end, they could not find people who could adapt to the environment, let alone form Lu Zhou's wolf army. If you went there, the mountain people would not pay attention to you. Now, there was a large amount of goods to exchange. Moreover, the value of the local tribes was not at a disadvantage. However, not all tribes were friendly to Tang. They were beaten by Tang before, and they were still holding a grudge. At the same time, they were also on guard. According to Chen Shihong, it would not only solve the problem of human resources, but it would also further promote the communication with the natives on the island. Some of the tribes who cooperated with Tang Dynasty would become rich first, and the other tribes would be tempted. In the end, when all the tribes cooperated, they could also bring the people of the tribes to Tang for a tour, and the Tang people would travel to their island for a tour. They would divide the land for construction and hire the people of the tribes to work. After a series of operations, they would not need to use force to get the island. They would build a port, and the territory would be extended out, making it convenient for more ships to go to the island. The more number 576 thought about it, the more he felt it made sense. He praised, "Good idea. I'll report it. If it's approved, I'll give you a reward. Maybe I'll give you a steam engine ship." Really? Chen Shihong clapped his hands happily. He knew the other party would not be greedy. At the same time, He did not expect number 576 to give such a good evaluation. He did not even dare to dream that an idea could be exchanged for a ship. It's true. Your idea not only solves the problem of manpower, but also puts the idle ships to use. Tools can only show their value when they are used. More importantly, your idea can quickly reduce the gap between us and the tribes on Liuqiu Island. My idea of a steam engine ship is conservative. The people above will review it and give you a reward according to the value of the idea. They will also add a little extra to encourage you to continue to think of ideas. Then they will put it in the newspaper, and you will become famous. While number 576 was talking, he signaled the people on the guard ship to report it. First, he would simply send the idea back, so that the other side could be prepared. When he went back, he would repeat it in detail. Chen Shihong was grinning from ear to ear as he listened. He nodded and said, I know. I am the horsebone of the horsebone in the 1,000 gold market. Even if you don't give me a reward, I am willing to give you ideas. It is a way to show my value. I, a fisherman, can help the Tang Empire. I have not lived in vain. I don't think you are a fisherman. You are more like a researcher in charge of practical plans. You know a lot. Number 576 said sincerely. Chen Shihong continued to laugh. Ha ha, ha ha ha, I know a lot because I read a lot of books. When I am not fishing, I go to the school to listen to the lessons with the children. When I go home, I ask my son to teach me. Now I can read the newspaper by myself, and I can even write more than 100 words. They all say that I have nothing to do, stupid. This time, I will let them know who is smart and who is stupid. Number 576 gave him a thumbs up and was about to praise him when Chen Shihong suddenly pointed to the place where the sea met the sky in the distance and exclaimed, There are boats, 2 of them, much bigger than mine. Number 576 quickly picked up the binoculars and looked in that direction. Yes, there were 2 triangular sailboats moving forward on the sea. Looking at that direction, they would come into contact with their side. Whose boats? They are not ours. We don't have such boats with triangular sails. They are cannibals. Why are there only 2 boats? Number 576 made a judgment. Chen Shihong followed and looked. He took the binoculars and looked, and was amused. Are the boats patched? I reckon that there should be quite a number of ships here, but they encountered wind or something. As a result, all the other ships were damaged. The remaining 2 ships were repaired after docking on that small island. How pitiful. What should we do? Ask all the fishing boats to come back. Send a report and ask for reinforcements. Guard the boats and set up the guns. Give me a gun. My weapons are all sunk in the water. It is really not the right time. Number 576 quickly gave the order. When the fishermen heard that there was danger, they did not care about fishing anymore. They gathered back and then rowed towards the land. The 2 guard boats stayed in place and did not move. They were not in a hurry. They could see the boats, but it would take some time for them to come over. Now, the wind was blowing from the land to the sea. Maybe the reinforcements of the hot air balloon team could follow the wind and arrive. Chapter 13-14. The Tang people on the fishing boats first saw the Duo people's boats. The Duo people's boats were large and had sails. After the Tang small fishing boats withdrew, the Duo people on the boats did not know that there were many Tang people in front of them. The advantage of a jib sail was that it could be turned flexibly, whether it was with the wind or against it. It was just that when the wind was against it, it had to take a zigzag route. Now the people on the boats were doing this. Some people were constantly adjusting the angle of the sails so that the boats could continue to move in the direction they had set and reach land. Khalisi Muhammad sat on the deck of the first boat. His hands were in his sleeves and his face was covered, only revealing a pair of dry eyes and a pair of feet without shoes. His feet were cracked so much that one could even see the bright red flesh inside. A sea breeze blew, causing his veil to move. 2 seagulls landed not far from him. They seemed to be tired from flying and wanted to rest. Khaliseh Muhammad reached for the water skin, shook it in his hand, and carefully pulled out the stopper. He put his chapped lips on the mouth of the water skin to moisten it, then stuck out his tongue to lick it. He reluctantly put back the stopper and put it aside again. He now hoped to see land and then fill the water skin with water from the river. He would drink it all into his stomach, fill it again, and drink again. Only in this way could he keep away from the fear of hunger and thirst. He had been to the Tang Empire twice. The first time was 15 years ago, when he came to Chuanzhou with other believers to preach to the locals. At that time, some people died on the road, but those who survived gave the great gift of Allah to the locals. Then he went back with the local silk and porcelain, which were all contributed by the believers of Chuanzhou to Allah. When he returned, he was given a portion and exchanged it for sheep and camels. This was a gift from Allah for preaching, and he was grateful to Allah. But a drought took away all his wealth. He thought that it was Allah's punishment for not continuing to preach, so he came again. 3 years ago, he successfully survived under the protection of Allah and set foot on the land of Chuanzhou, waiting for the local believers to welcome him. However, he found that he was wrong. There were no believers. The temples that were originally built by believers were demolished, and the land was taken back. In the past, very few people came to preach. They were all helping the locals in exchange for food. The light of Allah could no longer illuminate the earth beneath his feet. Khaliseh Muhammad Creeley inquired with a person who came from the same place and found out that the locals no longer believed in Allah, and the name of Allah was gradually forgotten. They now believed in two people named Xiao Bao and Cuckoo, as well as their emperor. This was because their faith was not firm enough. A group of infidels, they did not know that when they gave up on Allah, Allah also gave up on them. Whether dead or alive, they would all be punished by Allah. Khaliseh Muhammad had always felt that he was the messenger of Allah, and that he would turn everyone he met into a follower of Allah. But before he could continue preaching, his fellow believers began to evacuate, and he was taken away from the great Tang by someone else. Half a year after he returned, he received the news that the followers of Allah were planning to shine the light of Allah on every inch of land. But it was likely to be seen through by the infidels. The followers of Allah were not afraid of death, but they had to survive to continue to let others know of the greatness of Allah. Another 2 months passed, and he learned from his well-informed friends that the great Tang had launched a war against Allah's believers. They were using evil weapons to force believers back into Allah's embrace, and they might even launch an even larger war. So he was sent out to lead a ship to the prosperous Hangzhou of the great Tang to capture people who did not believe in Allah, and launch a holy war against the infidels. When he came out, there were 40 ships, 60 people on each ship. They came from the sea, but they could not be discovered by the infidels' ships. Otherwise, the infidels would use evil weapons again to sink their ships. Khaliseh Muhammad Creeley wondered why he did not have such weapons. The Almighty Allah could not be worse than the infidels. It must be Allah's test. People who believed in Allah were not afraid of evil weapons. There are really many infidel ships. Khaliseh murmured a hoarse voice in his throat, and reached out to touch the water bag, and finally resisted the desire to take another sip. He remembered the ship he saw not long after he went out to sea. The ship was fast, big, and had sails but no oars. Not only did it have the same jib sail as his ship, but it also had a horizontal sail. When the wind was favorable, they hung full sails, and when the wind was against, they lowered the sails, but their speed was faster than when they hung the sails. He heard that this was a thing called a steam engine, which was also made by the infidels and full of evil. The infidel ships followed the outline of the land. Then his side could not continue to move forward according to the previous plan, otherwise they would be sunk by their gunships. The only way he could take was to go around. After going around and around, he encountered a strong wind, and the sea fell from the sky. One ship after another sank, and he did not know which wave knocked him unconscious. When he woke up, he was already on a small island, and there were other people, adding up to exactly 81, and the rest returned to the embrace of Allah. The wreckage of ships floated on the sea around the island, and only 2 ships were still intact. Everyone began to repair the ships and continue to move forward with the test of Allah. Even if there were only 81 people, Even if there were only 2 ships left, the fire of the holy war would not be extinguished. Let the infidels know that Allah cannot be used to blaspheme, and dirty souls must be purified. But what about the land? What about the civilians of the infidels? Do you want to let the 81 people and 2 ships on your side fight against the enemy's fleet? In fact, Allah should send a more powerful fleet to the believers, and at the same time, there were sea supply rescue ships that patrolled every half a day. When he came back, he saw that the fishermen were not worried about encountering big storms. They did not go far, only around the range of the lighthouse. They had so many lighthouses, and he did not understand why they were built so close to each other. When the lights were on at night, the light of another lighthouse could be seen from one lighthouse. Even so, they still had supply rescue ships patrolling back and forth along their route. Their ships were loaded with medicine and their doctors. There were small boats on the big ships, with their canned food, fruits and vegetables, as well as changing clothes and countless fresh water. They accompanied their other ships, and the farthest one even followed the merchant fleet. When he went back, he specifically asked someone. The fresh water on the supply rescue ship was free of charge for the merchant fleet, and other things were not expensive. For their fishing boats, everything was free. He heard that he saw a pagan fishing boat was damaged by a whale. At that time, a supply ship passed by, rescued the people in the water, and then gave the fishermen a boat so that they could continue to fish. How could the sinful infidels be like this? That was what the believers of Allah should enjoy. There are boats, I see boats. The shouts of others interrupted Khalasai's thoughts. He stood up and followed the eyes of others. Sure enough, there were boats, 2 small boats, undulating with the sea. If you did not look carefully, you would not find them at all. It's a fishing boat. Someone shouted happily. Khalasai was also happy. They met a fishing boat, not far from the shore. First, they would catch the fishermen, then secretly go to their land and catch more people. In this way, the infidels would not dare to do anything to them. They believed in Xiao Bao and Cuckoo, and they cared about their lives very much. The people on the 2 boats began to drink water. They did not need to save anymore. There would be enough water for them to use soon. The people who drank water had strength in their bodies. They tried to adjust the sail, wanting to quickly contact the other fishing boat, catch their people, and complete their mission, Allah. When the many cannibals' boats were trying to get close to the escort ship, in order not to cause trouble to the escort ship, the fishermen who quickly returned to the land saw 4 boats in front of them. They were about the same size as their fishing boat, but their speed. Were they flying on the water? Come on, the many cannibals are going to meet them. Chen Shihong only had time to shout, and the 4 boats separated from the left and right sides of their fishing boat, leaving 4 clear traces of waves on the sea. He looked back again, and the 4 boats were 100 steps away. Chen Shihong was stunned. He looked at the others and saw that they were also stunned. He knew that he was not the only one who was dazzled. After a few seconds, Chen Shihong waved his fist. Damn, this is my Tang Dynasty's boat? His mother, crazy, this is crazy. Chen Shihong shouted. When the others heard his movement, they came back to their senses and crazily shouted together to vent the shock, excitement, and pride in their hearts. I dare say that I guarantee that this is my Tang Dynasty's new technology. It came from the Ministry of Works, which is Xiao Bao's father's place. It's so fast. If I knew that this kind of boat was coming, why would I run? I should have just stayed at the side and watched the show. Chen Shihong said regretfully. Just now, they were worried that they would be a burden to the escort boat, so they tried to leave. Before they set out, they had been told countless times that in the face of danger, if the rescue team did not send a signal to attack together, they should stay away from the danger and not cause trouble to the rescue boat. Especially in a naval battle, they should run as far as possible. They ran, but that was because they did not know that there would be another boat that was so fast. At that time, they were afraid that the many cannibals would not dare to touch the boats with guns, so they specifically looked for fishing boats like theirs. If someone was caught, the people on the escort boat would be afraid of taking action. But if there was a boat that came later, it did not seem to be a problem for them to stay there. The boat that came later would definitely have powerful weapons. I saw it. I saw that the boat that just flew past had small cannons. Why don't? A fisherman said what he saw and suggested at the same time. Everyone knew what he was going to say. Why don't we go back? Everyone looked at each other. They wanted to go back, but they were afraid that it would affect the soldiers on their side. If they went back and the soldiers were injured, not only would they feel uneasy, but they would also be criticized or even beaten up when they returned home. Why don't we wait a little longer? Maybe they need our help to capture the captives and those 2 boats. If they haven't sunk, we have to bring them back, Chen Shihong suggested. Chapter 13:15. After listening to Chen Shihong's words, the fishermen chose to agree and wait here for a while. In case they were needed, they could watch over the captives. The captives would be very good labor in the future. If there were dangerous jobs, they could let the captives do it. Fish. A fisherman pointed at the fish on the boat. Still care about the fish? I just want to see what the flying boat is. In the future, if we encounter danger, they will come faster. It's too magical. Another young man said happily. Although the boat was not his, as long as the Tang Empire had it, he would also benefit. The strength of his country made him work harder. When he encountered danger, there would be someone to help him at the fastest speed. When he encountered other countries' boats, they would have to go around him. Was there anything happier than this? His fishing boat was a little small, but his Tang Empire was powerful enough. Especially Xiao Bao and Cuckoo, they would not reason with others. When they took revenge, they would be very ruthless. The others also piled up smiles on their faces. They hoped that they would have a chance to see it with their own eyes. Although they could not own it now, they might be able to buy or rent it in the future. Just like the steam engine boat, when it was first developed, ordinary people were not allowed to come into contact with it. Now, if they had money, they could rent one or even buy one to use for fishing and transportation. Every time my Tang Empire's military technology improves by a level, we will take out the inferior one from before and use it for civilian use. If one day we can use the boat that just passed by, it means that my Tang Empire is more powerful. I look forward to it. After Chen Shihong finished speaking, he drank 2 mouthfuls of water. For a moment, he felt so comfortable from inside out. Everyone waited on the sea here. When they heard the gunshots stop, they would go back. While waiting, something appeared in the sky. The buzzing sound was very loud. The fishermen looked up and were stunned again. They thought that it was a hot air balloon, but it looked different from the hot air balloons they had seen before. The hot air balloons in the past were round, but this one was like a fish with a bulging stomach. Moreover, it was much bigger than the hot air balloons they had seen before. There were fins, and the basket hanging below was also bigger than the hot air balloons. The most important thing was its speed. There were more than 10 hot air balloons following behind this thing, but the distance between them was obviously getting farther and farther. How many bullets can I put in the basket? Chen Shihong looked up, and the first thing that came to his mind was the loading of the bullets. I think so. Today I saw 2 mysterious things. It's so satisfying. Look, there's a smiley face drawn in front of this thing. That mouth and eyes are so cute. If it were a shark, it would be awesome. Another person chimed in and commented. Cute. What's cute isn't what's in the picture, but how many deaths it can bring. The picture of the vigorous protection team is also cute. The flags of Cuckoo and Xiao Bao are also cute. It depends on who's looking at it. It's cute when we look at it, but the enemy will have nightmares when they see it. Someone refuted. I'm just saying. How can it be over so quickly? You can't feel it from the front, but when you get to the top of your head, a shadow will cover you and you will be able to run very far away. In the future, they will use this to patrol above our heads. Wishful thinking. It's good enough to have a hot air balloon. If it weren't for the cannibals coming over, there wouldn't be any hot air balloons. There's only a guard ship in charge of that sea area. We're just a bunch of fishermen. Do you expect the imperial court to send a gunship to follow you around? Don't be greedy. With a guard ship wandering around there, we can be at ease fishing. It's a waste to have too many things for us to use. Unless we're attacked, the imperial court will send troops over. But who dares? I'll lend them some courage. If I die, Cuckoo will make all of them die with me. Chen Shihong thought clearly. Can't I just say a few words? Stop. 2 hot air balloons have stopped. They're above our heads. Someone's coming down. The person who spoke just now was about to say a few words when he realized that the hot air balloons had stopped above his head. He changed the topic. 2 people came down from each hot air balloon. There were a total of 4 people with guns on their backs. One landed on Chen Shihong's ship, and another landed on each of the 3 ships beside it. Why did you come down? Chen Shihong was puzzled. To protect you. The person who came down said with a cold face. Welcome. Welcome. Oh, thank you. What are the ships and the big hot air balloons that pass by? Chen Shihong pointed to the sky and asked. Military secrets. No comment. The person who came continued to answer with a cold face. Chen Shihong didn't care when he saw that the other party didn't give him face. Anyway, no matter how cold and indifferent you are, you still have to rush to the front when there's danger. How dare you let me take the front? But if only you could be more cheerful. Soldiers and civilians are one family. Xiao Bao and Cuckoo said so. Can't I ask around? What secrets can this thing have to reveal? Chen Shihong cursed in his heart. The 4 people who came down began to check their weapons. The guns on their backs were the kind that had a strong penetrating power. The stopping power was relatively small, and they were mainly used for long-distance shooting. The 4 people were very serious. They first took the guns apart to check, then reassembled them. The bullets were also pressed into the magazine one by one. They even took out a military knife and drew lines on 2 of the bullets. The nearby fishermen were all watching. No one made a sound. They had never touched a gun before. The older ones probably wouldn't have the opportunity in their lifetime. The younger ones were thinking about whether they should participate in the training when they go back and shoot a few guns to satisfy their craving. Will they attack us? A young man looked at the guns in the hands of the other person enviously and asked. I don't know. The person answered. The young man was depressed. He felt that he was far worse than the previous number 576. He was talking and laughing. He didn't owe you anything. Do you have to be so cold? Difference. This was the difference. Number 576 was the spy of the Zhong family and the Wang family. In terms of status, how many people could surpass him? He was very easy to talk to. At this time, another person came down from the lower hot air balloon. Everyone was stunned. It was actually a woman. She was very beautiful and carried a medical kit on her back. As soon as she came down, she smiled at everyone. When others saw her smile, some of them smiled back. Some of the young men lowered their heads, looking very embarrassed. Don't blame them. The 4 of them are new recruits. They have never been on the battlefield. They have only trained for 3 years. Usually, the instructor is strict, so they don't dare to joke around. They will be fine after they get familiar with it. The female medic smiled and explained to the crowd. She had seen the situation below from above, so she came down to explain. Otherwise, it would be wrong to be a soldier if they misunderstood when they were protecting people. The female medic had a good personality. When she said that, the expressions of the fishermen became much better. An old fisherman comforted them. Kids, don't be afraid. If they really fight, you can put the gun on my shoulder. I will block their arrows for you. You can kill them all. Consider it as revenge for me. I have 1 foot in the coffin. I am not afraid of death. Uncle, it's good to hear you say that. But if there is really danger, you have to retreat. If you block them, they will die when they go back. If you don't die, they will lose a layer of skin when they go back. Why don't you thank Uncle? You are all like wood. The female medic smiled and said to the old fisherman. Then, she changed her expression and gave orders to the 4 people. Yes, Princess Tong Bei. Uncle, I apologize. The person in front of Chen Shihong was still as cold as before. He apologized to the old fisherman who spoke just now. Everyone started not paying attention to his apology. Instead, they looked at the female medic. Princess? Princess Tong Bei? Which prince's daughter? Why did she come here? Princess, why don't you get married and stay at home? Why are you running around? Princess Tong Bei glared at the soldier and explained with a smile, My brother is Li Sun, Prince Tong N. Now, he has nothing to do all day, so he runs between Tong and Prefecture and Bohai Prefecture. He said that the ice sculptures there are good in winter. I'm half a year younger than Xiao Bao and Cuckoo. I've been studying medicine since I was 6 years old. I just graduated from medical school last year and went to the border between Xinluo and my dynasty for an internship. In fact, I was using the people from Xinluo to practice. I originally planned to stay there when spring was warm, but it was too cold when spring was cold, so I came here. In the end, it was too hot. Today, we are holding a joint exercise. I'm flying with this balloon. I didn't expect that as I was flying, you guys would encounter many cannibals. Look, it directly changed from an exercise to a real battle. Let me measure your blood pressure. Everyone suddenly understood. No wonder they came so quickly. It was as if a ship flying on the water could travel. The hot air balloon came at the right time. That's not right. Why did you choose this time for the exercise? Chen Shihong was not stupid. The timing was too coincidental. To put it bluntly, we were worried that the patrolling people in front would not discover the cannibals and set up another line of defense behind. We couldn't tell the locals, or there would be panic. We were just looking for an excuse. Princess Tong Bei did not hide it at all. After all, the enemy had already been discovered. Moreover, the fisherman in front of her had seen it. It didn't matter if she said it or not. The imperial court really thinks a lot for us. I came at a good time and have to live a few more years. Look, it's not good for a member of the royal family to come out and suffer. The old fisherman who had just said that he had one foot in the coffin now said that he wanted to live a few more years and even criticized Princess Tong Bei. Don't always call me princess. My surname is Li, and my name is Qing. Li Qing, you can call me Qing, I came out to learn from others. The current royal family is not sitting still and waiting for death. We have to learn skills. We have refunded the income of our own territories and only rely on our own abilities to earn money to support ourselves. Of course, we can still live well even if we can't earn money. His Majesty has specially set up a fund for us to use. However, it's too embarrassing to count on His Majesty's money to support us. Now, it's popular for the royal family to come out and do things. Uncle, look, I'm out. When I go back to attend the party with them, I'll have something to say. How the fish are caught and why the seagulls are parked on the boat. If I don't come, I won't be able to get a word in when they say something. Princess Tong Bei spoke to the old fisherman. Her amiable temperament immediately won the favor of everyone. Hearing the simple words coming out of her mouth, the fisherman's displeasure towards the cold soldiers immediately disappeared. One by one, they began to worry about Princess Li Qing. Chen Shihong frowned and asked with concern, Princess, when you practice medicine, does the medical center give you more money than your original territory? Of course. Not only do I practice medicine, but I also research medicine and sell it to Xinluo, Japan, and so on. How should I put it? In fact, those medicines still lack clinical experience, so it's not useful for you. However, Xinluo and Japan are not a problem. It's my ability to eat well, but it's their fate if they die. In fact, it's the same in Tang. The doctors have tried their best, but there will always be people who die. We are very sad, but there's nothing we can do. The technology is there, and not all diseases can be successfully treated. We'll be very happy if we cure a Tang person, but we'll be very regretful if one dies. If we want to be happy, we have to work hard. My income is not small, and it's all invested in medical research. My food and clothes are settled by Xiao Bao and Cuckoo's family business. The main reason is that it's convenient. Their family business is everywhere in Tang. In our circle, whoever earns less will be too ashamed to meet others. During the gathering, find a corner to sit and don't make a sound. Even the crown prince brother is the same. It has nothing to do with status. Whoever wants to use their status to pressure others will lose face when they say something to pressure others. And the most terrifying thing is that after you use your status to pressure others, if His Majesty finds out, you may lose your status. Occasionally, His Majesty will attend the gathering and talk about the battle between him and Xiao Bao and what victory he has achieved. In fact, we know that His Majesty always loses. He can't outsmart Xiao Bao. Li Qing covered her mouth and giggled. The fishermen laughed along. Their impression of the characters was revived by Li Qing's words. The gap in status still existed, but they seemed to be much closer to those people. While they were talking, the sound of cannons firing came from afar. They're fighting. It's definitely the sound of cannons. Guns don't make that sound, someone shouted. The 4 soldiers immediately raised their guns and looked in the direction of the sound without any expression on their faces. Li Qing quickly comforted them. Don't be afraid, don't be afraid. They won't be able to hit us. The new diesel boat and airship are enough to deal with the enemies on 2 boats. The airship is very loaded. There are a few bombs in it. One is enough to destroy the wooden boat. When the telegram arrives, we'll go and help. I hope they don't blow up the boat. No one is afraid. We have a lot of people, but we don't have good weapons. If we really fight, we can still fight with the cannibals. A young man puffed out his chest and said. After a while, the sound of cannons disappeared. Someone in the hot air balloon shouted, "Princess, it's done. It's done. Let's go and take a look." Princess Li Qing didn't climb up. She stayed on the fishing boat and asked the people to go back. The fishermen quickly turned the boat around and paddled the oars, heading back to where they came from. Half an hour later, they met up with the escort boat. Both boats were there, but there was smoke coming out of them. The mast and sail of one boat were burning. Many cannibals were swimming in the water, and some were fading in and out of sight with the waves. This part was obviously dead. 6 escort boats set up machine guns and pointed at the people on the boats. They were jumping into the water along the ropes. Those who jumped down used their hands to hold the boat. In the sky, there were airships and hot air balloons with gun barrels sticking out of them. Some people had already landed on the deck of the boats and were using ropes to put out the fire. Why bother? You came all the way here to be beaten. You can't even collect your dead body. If you die in the sea, just bury it in the sea. Chen Shihong said with a compassionate look. Khalisi Muhammad Kriyili was lucky not to be killed. Chapter 13-16. The duo eaters were captured one by one. 27 of them were killed, and the remaining 54 were taken captive. In fact, 19 of them were killed, and 8 of them were seriously injured. The medical team looked at the injuries and concluded that there was a chance to heal 5 of them, but they couldn't do anything about the remaining 3. However, although there was a chance to heal these 5 people, it didn't mean that they had to heal them. The reason was that it wasn't worth it. Only Tang Empire would go all out. The heavily injured ones who were not dead were shot and thrown into the sea. Among the remaining 54 people, there were some who were slightly injured. At first, they were still shouting, saying that it was painful and that they could not make it. When they found that the 8 heavily injured people had directly turned into corpses, they stopped shouting. They were afraid that they would be dealt with as well. The battle ended very quickly. It was a one-sided battle. 2 people were injured on Tang Empire's side. One of them was nervous when he fired the gun, and the butt of the gun lost its position during the vibration. His chin was bruised, and one could see that it was swollen. The other one was climbing on a surrendered enemy ship. He accidentally put his hand between the rope and the ship's railing, and 3 of his fingers were swollen. These 2 injured people would be punished when they returned. Although they felt uncomfortable when they were injured, they would still be punished. Their injuries showed that their combat skills were not solid enough. If they were sent out to rescue, A small mistake would put the hostages in danger. The two injured people indeed had worried expressions. They sat next to each other and looked at each other. They were in the same boat, and didn't say a word. No one came to comfort them. It was just a punishment, and it wasn't a big deal. The fishermen who rushed over were very satisfied with the battle, but they weren't satisfied with the number of duo eaters. There were only 50 of them, and it was too little. If only there were 5,000 of them. The Fuzhou shipyard was expanding, and there were still some small hills and potholes behind it. Where are they? Only so few? Chen Shihong pulled one of the duo eaters who was tied up and asked. Fortunately, this person could understand Tang Empire's language and replied, "They died on the road." Storm. What a wastrel. Chen Shihong scolded and began to look at the two captive boats. He looked left and right and shook his head. There's no need. Go back and change it. Put it on the water beside the dock and use it as a restaurant on the water. The two boats will be next to each other. Put a plank on the top and use it as a catamaran. Chen Shihong's mind worked quickly, and he immediately found a good place for the other party's ship. The more he thought about it, the better he felt his idea was. After discussing with the other fishermen, everyone agreed to get the fish and let their families help cook on the boat, which could also increase their income. They could also provide a part of the fish they caught to the restaurant. Not only would they have more sales, but they could also save the cost of buying other people's fish from the restaurant. To the current group of fishermen, Chen Shihong was the most knowledgeable among them, and they were willing to listen to him. Chen Shihong then went to negotiate with number 576. He wanted to buy a ship, but he didn't want to take advantage of the guards. Number 576 originally planned to give the boat to them directly. The wood on the boat was not bad. It would be easy for them to dismantle and use it to build their own small fishing boat. Now that she heard that Chen Shihong wanted to buy it, and that he even had the intention to negotiate, her attitude changed. Are you sure you want to buy it and not ask for it? Number 576 asked for the last time. Chen Shihong nodded. He suddenly felt that he had heard number 576's words today, but he couldn't remember it at the moment. 500 strings of coins. Give me the money, and the boat is yours. Number 576 gave a price. Rob? 200 strings of coins is enough to build a new one, including the mast and the sail. Look at that one, the mast is gone. If we didn't deal with it in time, the boat would be gone too. The sail on the other boat is also broken. Later on, we still have to cut the mast. The wood is good, and it's more than enough to make the beam of 2 rooms. Now it's a second-hand boat, so we have to buy it back. At most 120 strings of coins. 100 strings of coins, yes, more than that, you have to take it back to play with yourself. Chen Shihong almost offered 120 strings of coins, but fortunately, he reacted quickly enough. 100 strings of coins for you, but in the future when we eat at your restaurant on the water, you have to give us a 20% discount, and it will always be like that. Number 576 bargained with additional conditions. No, it's expensive. You have been eating here, and you are taking advantage of me. 50 strings of coins. I will give you a 5% discount in the future, but you can't order expensive dishes. Chen Shihong was thinking about the price. Number 576 shook her head and said with a smile, "When it comes to doing business, you are too far behind. Don't mention young master Xiao Bao, even Xiao Bei and the rest are better than you." If it were Xiao Bei and the rest, they would immediately agree. Why? Chen Shihong couldn't figure it out. Because you will also profit from the 20% discount. When we eat at your restaurant, we have more people, so you will naturally earn more. At the same time, it will also give publicity. When others see the soldiers stationed in Fuzhou eating at your restaurant, they will think that the food in your restaurant is good. If you continue to bargain, I will sell the boat to others for 150 strings of coins, and we will have a 20% discount when eating there. I believe many people will rush to buy it. Number 576 was a little disappointed. Although the fisherman opposite her was smarter than other fishermen, there was a limit to his intelligence. He didn't consider the problem comprehensively enough. Chen Shihong slapped his thigh hard. Oh, I remember. No wonder we are so familiar. The newspaper reported that between adults and children, if the child asks for something, you will give it if you can. If you can't, you will explain clearly. If you negotiate with the child, you have to accompany the child to negotiate even if it's just a copper coin. Let the child understand that family is family, and an agreement is an agreement. Just like when Xiao Bei and the rest negotiated with Xiao Bao and Cuckoo. I have learned another skill. When I go back, I will do the same for my children and nurture them. But there is a problem. Number 576 looked at Chen Shihong and motioned for him to continue. The problem is that we can't take out 100 strings of coins in cash. We are building a new house, and life is better now. It's not like before, where we can only take out the money saved by several generations to build a house for the children who are about to get married. It's easy for us to make money. We can tear down all the small houses in the past and build a 2-story building. We can add a big yard, grow vegetables in the front yard, and rear pigs in the backyard. The seaweed washed up by the sea can be used to feed the pigs. The money can be used to hire people and buy materials. If it's not enough to buy a boat, there is still the cost of opening a restaurant. Chen Shihong showed an awkward expression. However, there was a hint of happiness between his eyebrows. It seemed that he was looking forward to the new house. Congratulations. Congratulations. Number 576 cupped his hands and was happy. Chen Shihong smiled shyly. He, thank you. I want to say thank you. The longevity tablets of Xiao Bao and Cuckoo will never be removed. Who is good and who is bad, we know in our hearts. If other officials have money, we will be suspicious. If Xiao Bao and Cuckoo have money, we think it's normal. We don't care about the rule that officials can't do business. Thank you. Number 576 also thanked him. He was praising his master's family. Then he gave an idea: you can tow the 2 boats back, and then use the 2 boats to get a loan from the bank. The people in your family who run the restaurant are women and older, right? In their name, the bank will give a very low loan interest. If you have people in your family who are not very healthy, the loan interest given by the bank will even be lower than the interest of your savings. There is also the government's tax reduction policy. 2 boats can get a loan of 100 strings of coins from the bank? Chen Shihong didn't believe it. The bank usually estimated the price of things very low. No. Number 576 shook his head. But you can give a loan of 100 strings of coins to the restaurant of 2 boats. If you use the restaurant to get a loan, it's a project. If you use the boat to get a loan, it's a physical mortgage. According to the risk ratio of investment return, the risk of the former is less than the latter. The bank will evaluate it. I've learned something new. People often say that any one of the people from the Zhang family and Wang family is very powerful. Today, I agree with this saying. If you use this idea to deceive people, your 2 families will definitely be invincible. Chen Shihong said gratefully. Number 576 was still smiling and said, the highest level of deceit is not how to deceive, nor who to deceive, but to not deceive anywhere. My wife said since she was very young that there are no deceivers in this world. Everyone is good, he. Ha ha, I've heard. It is said that Cuckoo was laughing at that time. A maid said that there was a deceiver on the other side of the bridge. In the end, Cuckoo said how could it be possible? Good people, they are all good people. Go, bring Xiao Bao here. Ha, I can't help but laugh when I think of it. I did as you said. Will the bank think that we are not honest? Chen Shihong laughed happily for a while, then turned back to the topic and became serious. Number 576 said with certainty, Go. This is not deceit, because deceit does not make one invincible. The real invincible is benevolence. The imperial court has a policy of supporting people. Benevolence leads to people's hearts. Chen Shihong happily continued to discuss with the others. After that, they decided to send people to watch over the area while the other fishing boats brought the captives back. When they arrived at the seaside, they would hire a big boat to help pull the 2 boats back. It would be too slow if they dragged the boats themselves, so everyone agreed. Chen Shihong told number 576 what they had discussed. Number 576 proposed to use 4 new boats to help pull the 2 boats back directly. There was no charge, and they could see how the new boat's power system was. When the fishermen heard this, they were happy. They were happy not because they could save money, but because they could see the boats that flew on the water before. Li Qing, the princess of Tong Bay, introduced the boats to the fishermen like a tour guide. I don't know how many new boats the Ministry of Works has built in total. I only know that they sent 4 to Fuzhou and 4 to Quanzhou. Luzhou might have more, but they didn't tell me. As a princess, I don't have the power to ask. The information I can get is that there are small diesel engines behind the 4 boats. The workmanship is more delicate, and the failure rate is higher. Especially the propeller at the bottom. It was calculated by Xiao Bao and Cuckoo. Yes, it was calculated. This is the importance of knowledge. After that, the Ministry of Works sent skilled craftsmen to grind it little by little on the lathe, and it almost had to be remade. It's not that it's impossible, but it's Xiao Bao and Cuckoo's request. When it comes to noise, thrust, and so on, the unqualified products are quite good when used on other boats. It's just that they don't meet their requirements. Princess Qing, we know. It said that Xiao Bao and Cuckoo want to build our own Tang heavy industry. The requirements for craftsmen are very high. With a casual look and touch, they can find the difference of 0.2 millimeters. The most simple training class is to graduate. It requires a small hand file and an iron rod to make a beautiful multifunctional hammer. With this hammer, you can make better things with a hand file, and then continue to work with it. What we want to know now is when we can use this boat. Hurry up, once this boat is out, the other boats will be like crawling. Can we use the same thing on the bigger boats? A fisherman mustered up the courage to speak to Princess Li Qing. His hand was pinching his leg hard, and he was nervous. It was the first time in his life that he talked to a beautiful princess. In the past, he would not even dare to think about it. He thought that he was a good-for-nothing. Princess Li Qing sensed the other party's nervousness and felt a little disappointed. She felt that she had not done a good enough job. If Xiao Bao and Cuckoo were here, she believed that the fishermen would not be so nervous. However, in reality, their status was much higher than hers. After considering the question, Princess Li Qing felt that it was not a big deal to reveal the secret. So, she answered, Luzhou already has a boat in use, and it needs something called diesel. It has been used in the military. If you want to use it, I guess it will take 5 years. 5 years later, more advanced technology will be developed and used in the military. The blockade will be lifted for civilian use. Are you afraid that we will buy it and leak the technology? The fisherman asked again. No, you can't copy it at all. You can use it or take it apart. If you can't put it back, you will have to spend money. We can't let you use it now because we don't have enough diesel. Are you willing to spend 5,000 strings of coins to drive the same boat back and forth? Unless you are a rich person and use it for fun or fishing, you will have to catch some fish to earn back the cost. Su Qing said. In fact, she did not know the price of diesel. She only knew that the production was not high, and it was mostly used for military research. When the fishermen heard this, they were discouraged. They would rather buy a big boat with a steam engine in the future. The news that the duo cannibals who came from afar was soon reported in the newspapers. Many people complained that a large number of duo cannibals were drowned in the storm. Otherwise, there would be more slaves to do the work. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan knew the news earlier. When the fishermen just found out about the duo cannibals, the telegram was sent back, and other telegraph offices received the signal and sent it to the west at the same time. Everything is stable. Now we just need to enter India from here, and then quickly pass through and attack the duo cannibals. Zhang Xiaobao put down the information and said to Wang Wan, who was walking next to him. Wang Wan also had a copy of the content in her hand. When she knew that the last thing she needed to worry about was solved, she was also very happy. As for the duo cannibals who encountered the storm, she did not care at all. She was glad that the duo cannibals survived and reached the coastal area. Otherwise, if they all died, Her side would always be on tenterhooks and waste a lot of manpower and resources to patrol. At this time, their team had already passed through the residential area of the Meng tribe. The people of the Meng tribe did not show the slightest hostility. On the contrary, they prepared sheep and placed them on the side of the road. They also had practical leather, some cut into pieces and some cut into strips to be used as bandages. There was even one person who could speak simple Great Tang language and wanted to trade things with Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, especially salt. Zhang Xiaobao thought about it and did not trade for salt with the locals. Instead, he introduced the person surnamed Quan, who was going to be the interpreter, to them so that they could trade among themselves. The team only exchanged some silk with the Meng people and some crop seeds. They told them to plant them well and that they would be very valuable in the future. The interpreter surnamed Quan very proudly told the Meng people that they had an inexhaustible supply of salt and that the price was cheap. If they wanted to trade, they could bring something with them. At the same time, he warned the other party not to use force to snatch the salt, because there were great Tang soldiers stationed there and their weapons were very powerful. The Meng people did not dare to believe it at first, but when they received confirmation from Zhang Xiaobao, they were very happy. The person who spoke simple Great Tang language had not even seen the real thing and had not even begun the trade, but he could not help but haggle with the Quan people. He pointed at a sheep and said, "1 sheep for 1 leather bag of salt." Zhang Xiaobao looked at the sheep. Its wool weight was around 40 jin, which was not considered small. That leather pouch could probably hold about 10 catties of water, but the salt pouch was much heavier. It could hold about 20 catties. The Quan person shook his head with a smile. The Meng person said again, "This." He gestured to half of the bag. The Quan person still smiled and shook his head. The Meng person thought about it and then lowered his hand to about 1/10 of the water bag. He then looked at the Quan person. This was after considering that the other party had said that there was a lot of salt. Otherwise, he would have been willing to bring another sheep with the same amount of salt. The Quan person picked up half of the sheepskin and said to the Meng person, "This sheepskin can be exchanged for a bit of salt." The Meng person was angry. He thought that the other party was lying to him. How could a bit of sheepskin be exchanged for a full bag of salt? The Quan person quickly said in the other party's language, "It's true. There is a lot of salt. You can dig it up. Some of it can be eaten directly, and some of it needs to be processed. It's not worth much. I also want to sell it to you at a high price, but I'm afraid that Xiao Bao and Cuckoo will be angry. If you don't believe me, you can bring a few people back with me. I'll let you see with your own eyes how much salt there is. No matter how much you eat, you won't be able to finish it. It's just that you'll have to walk back and carry a lot of it. We're not afraid of the weight. We'll call someone to go with you right away." The Meng person was still worried before he was sure, but he chose to go and take a look. The matter was resolved. After that, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan sent a telegram to confirm it through the people who stayed behind. The Meng person was very happy and said that he was willing to consider joining the Tang Empire, provided that he would not be a slave after joining. Now we should speed up and continue to the west, through the territory of the 6 Zhao, and then turn northwest. That's the Brahmaputra River, which happens to be our front line. We specialize in attacking the Duo people from India. We should cooperate with them. Zhang Xiaobao stopped, opened the map, and said to Wang Wan. Wang Wan looked at the map and nodded. Soon. Some areas in India and Duo people have started to harvest wheat and other crops in autumn. I hope that the fleet that went to the strait to attack will be in time. We can't let them safely harvest the grain. Let's hurry up and ask the small countries in India why they are helping the Duo people. Then we can talk to them about the purchase of grain. If they say they don't want to sell, we can attack them on the grounds that they want to continue to support our enemy countries. Zhang Xiaobao echoed. What if they say they're willing to sell? Wang Wan asked. Impossible. Would you be willing to sell 10 caddies of wheat for 1 copper coin? Zhang Xiaobao meant that he wanted to lower the price. Yes, we can exchange it for foreign exchange. Wang Wan said with a smile. Then 100 caddies. I don't believe it. Zhang Xiaobao said in a huff. Chapter 13-17. Zhang Xiaobao completely agreed with Wang Wan's words. Even if 10 caddies of wheat could be exchanged for 1 copper coin in Great Tang, and this did not include the cost of transportation, 1 copper coin in Great Tang could only buy half a caddy of wheat. So should he sell it? He had to sell it. However, the money could not be exchanged for wheat in Great Tang. It could be exchanged for salt, other handy tools, or even a biology book for children in school. This was the pressure of technology. Paying so much in exchange for a very basic technology of Great Tang, it was impossible to advance further unless one researched the basics themselves. Then, one had to pay an even higher price. How high was the price? If others spent 100 strings of cash to research a technology, one could forget about obtaining it without at least 1 million strings of cash. This was because there was a connection and continuity between technologies. Spending 100 strings of cash to research a basic technology did not mean that the technology itself was worth 100 strings of cash. If one factored in military and productivity, 1 million strings of cash would be considered cheap. The best method was to pay a large amount of resources to learn all the basic technologies of Great Tang and nurture a group of people. Then, one could continue to buy technology while one researched. If it were a smart country or race, they would need 100 years to catch up, and in this 100 years, they would have to endure the pressure of international trade. In order to establish a world forest, one had to use the strength of one's nation. However, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were not at all afraid of the people from the Anxi region and the little Brahmins in front of them researching technology. They only restricted Japan and would not give them any chance. That nation was also very smart. As for the Anxi region and the little Brahmin kingdom, one was Myanmar, the other was India, and the same was true for the Polyphagia region and the Arabian region. It was not that they were looking down on them, but even if you gave them technology, they would have to learn and learn for a very long time until the technology was eliminated. But what if you tried Japan? They would definitely be able to learn and understand the technology in a short time and then derive other technologies from it. Therefore, they had to get rid of them and not give them the slightest chance. Otherwise, they could only exterminate their families. This was not good. It did not match the spirit of Yan Huang and could not show the charm of Huaxia. All areas with Chinese people must have Chinatowns and Chinatowns. We are the only ethnic group in the world with this ability. Even the smart Jews can't do it. This shows that we are the most tenacious, the most adaptable, and the most tolerant. I am willing to tolerate, but I will never allow threats to exist. I agree to include all races in the world into the Chinese nation, but I will not coexist with them as countries. 6 Zhao, your last chance. If you miss it, don't blame me, Zhang Xiaobao, for being ruthless. The universe is too vast, and we are wasting our time trying to influence you bit by bit. Anyone who hinders the integration of the races is a sinner. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's team had already arrived at the territory of the other Zhao. Zhang Xiaobao glanced at the people hiding in the woods and said as if he was talking to himself and making a declaration. Wang Wan ordered not to shoot at the scouts of the other side. The team continued to move forward. She said to Zhang Xiaobao, "It's a good place to call the brothers and sisters of the Yunnan region. We have always called ourselves Yimeng. Now that we have 2 surnames, it's enough. Yimeng is Yimeng with other Zhao, and Yimeng without other Zhao is Yimeng. Myanmar will not exist because of the 6 Zhao. Besides, there will be no Myanmar in the future. Buddhism will flourish because it is close to India. The 6 Zhao will either happily become a part of the Tang Empire, or become a part of us passively. I thought you were going to make the people with the surnames Meng and Quan disappear, but in the end, you've become active and passive," Zhang Xiaobao said to Wang Wan as he waved at the locals who poked their heads out of the woods. Wang Wan took half a step back and said, "I can't do it. I'm not like you. I only slaughter villages in the process of battle to achieve my goal. You fight to achieve the goal of slaughtering villages. Me killing civilians is a special case. You killing civilians is normal. That's why soldiers are cute, and conspirators are shameful. This time, the number of people who die in the war is definitely far less than the number of people who die because of your economic means. No wonder you were captured and didn't die. A person like you is worth an army. I don't dare. I can't compare to Grandpa Chien. That's why I like to sing Swallows Fly Twice. Without him, I don't even know what Swallows Fly Twice is. The kind me can't be a politician. A politician can not only ignore the lives of others, but is even willing to use the lives of his own people as a bargaining chip. I'm far from that. My heart is too weak. I've always respected the song of Loving My Love with No Regrets. That's the song in the old TV series. There's another song in this TV series that I like very much. It's written specifically for the female lead. Zhang Xiaobao said and waved to the person hiding behind the tree again. That guy was not brave enough to come out. Wang Wan sighed. From the beginning to the end, you've been spouting nonsense. In the beginning, you said that you were kind, but in the end, you said something about writing a song for the female lead. I'm writing a song for the author, San Mao, okay? San Mao from The Vagabond. Are you coming out or not? If you don't come out, I'll shoot. Zhang Xiaobao casually answered Wang Wan and shouted to the person. The person hiding behind the tree came out with a bow. After thinking about it, he put down the bow and quiver. Step by step, he walked towards Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao stared at the person and suddenly said, "Throw away the bamboo pipe at your waist." The person took off the bamboo pipe used for blow darts and put it on the ground. He walked until he was 15 steps away from Zhang Xiaobao and stopped. "Tell me, what are you doing here?" Zhang Xiaobao asked. The person's eyes were blank. He began to speak his own language and his hands were also gesturing. It was obvious that he couldn't understand and couldn't communicate. Zhang Xiaobao was amused. Wang Wan also laughed. Patting his forehead, Zhang Xiaobao said to the person, "I'm so worried. Who sent such an interesting thing like you? Could it be the person standing behind you?" The person turned around and looked back. There was no one behind him. "There's no one, right? I know there's no one, but I also know that you can understand me. Don't make me laugh. Come, it looks like you don't have it easy. Take this salt. I remember there was no embargo on you. Don't you usually eat salt? Your skin is really bad." When Zhang Xiaobao saw through the person still pretended to be ignorant. Zhang Xiaobao had to signal the person next to him to take a bamboo tube of salt and throw it to the person. Then, he commented on the person's skin. The person took the bamboo tube, opened the lid, dipped his hand in the white powder, put it in his mouth and sucked. His eyes immediately narrowed. He nodded repeatedly and said to Zhang Xiaobao in the Tang language, "Delicious, thank you." "You're welcome." Zhang Xiaobao humbly replied. The person licked again. "It's really delicious." "Thank you," Zhang Xiaobao said. "You're welcome." The person replied. Wang Wan couldn't help but laugh and said to Zhang Xiaobao, "Are you doing crosstalk with him?" Crosstalk, you know. Come, little brother, seeing that you're younger than me, come closer. Don't worry, I won't harm you. There are canned food, one for each of us. We can chat while eating, and also drink some wine. Zhang Xiaobao beckoned the person forward. Someone brought over canned pork ribs, not the small kind, but more than 2 catties. Another person brought over a wine glass that could hold half a catty and filled it to the brim. There was no need to heat it, as the temperature here would make the wine warm. The person hesitated. "Come and eat. If I want your life, I don't need to use poison. I have something to ask you, and I need you to help me pass on a message." Zhang Xiaobao opened the canned food and invited the person again. The person thought for a while and finally came in front of Zhang Xiaobao. The two of them sat on the ground. Zhang Xiaobao passed a small knife to the person and took one for himself. He first put a piece of pork rib into his mouth and ate it. The person took the knife and looked at it first, then looked at Zhang Xiaobao and learned to eat a piece of pork rib. After chewing twice, a satisfied look appeared on his face. "Delicious, right? Come, let's drink. It's strong, slow down." Zhang Xiaobao took a small sip. He couldn't raise his head and drink 60% wine. It wasn't that he couldn't drink half a catty, but it was a pity. When drinking strong white wine, one had to experience the mouth, esophagus, and stomach first cool down and then suddenly warm up. At the same time, there was also the smell of alcohol and the aftertaste. Good wine had to be spicy when it entered the mouth, and then a line went down the stomach, and then the aftertaste was fragrant. Bad wine was fragrant when it was drunk, but the throat would first hurt, and then the stomach would be cold, and the aftertaste would be bitter. Aged wine belonged to the former, and blended wine belonged to the latter. And any white wine that didn't exceed 50% was not a good white wine. Zhang Xiaobao felt that the wine in his house was not bad, but this person just drank a mouthful and choked. It was as if there was a piece of cotton in his throat. I told you to drink less, but you insisted on drinking a big mouthful. Hold your breath and eat the canned food. Zhang Xiaobao complained. This person was really obedient. He immediately ate a piece of pork rib and swallowed it. He let out a long breath, rolled his eyes and praised, "Good wine, good meat. The wine is good wine, but the meat is just The two of us are eating canned pork ribs. I actually like to eat it, but more people like to eat lamb chops, steak, and deer chops. It's just that ordinary people can't eat the latter too. If you have sheep herders here, we are willing to exchange a can for 20 catty of lamb chops. You feel that you are making a loss, but in fact, we need to transport the canned food here, and add a lot of spices. When the lamb chops are raw, it is 20 catty, but when it is cooked, it will be reduced by a lot. You eat it every day, so you should know. There is also the leftover tin. In Tang, canned food is divided into glass jars, tin jars, and bamboo jars. Glass jars are usually filled with fruits because fruits have acid and will react with the tin. It's useless to tell you this. Anyway, it's just tin. After eating the food inside, the tin can still be used. You can use the box as a bowl, right? The lid can be used as a knife. It's very sharp. If you don't believe me, you can gently cut it and see if you can cut it. Are you stupid? You're too honest. Who sent you here? You're too honest. Who sent you here? Someone come. Zhang Xiaobao tried his best to explain why the canned food could be exchanged for so much lamb. In the end, the other party used the lid of the can to cut his hand. Sure enough, it was cut, and blood kept flowing out from his index finger. A medic brought gauze and medicine to help bandage it. It was just a small wound, so it was fine. Don't let your cut finger come into contact with water for 2 days. Take off the gauze before you sleep tonight. Luckily, I said cut your hand. If I said cut your neck, you would have committed suicide in front of me. How can I explain to your tribe? It's not that I care about killing one of you. The problem is that I am innocent. If I didn't kill you, then I didn't kill you. Why should I take the blame? This roll of gauze and the rest of the medicine are all yours. Don't laugh as if you are taking advantage of me. I would rather not be injured than to take these things. Zhang Xiaobao was speechless. At the same time, he showed a sad expression. This person tucked the gauze and medicine into the animal skin belt at his waist like he was hiding a treasure. He smiled at Zhang Xiaobao and said, "My name in Tang is Li Yunyun. Your medicine is very valuable. These medicine and gauze can be exchanged for 5 sheep. Li Yunyun is a girl's name, okay? Fine, you can call me that. In fact, the medicine you have now contains local herbs. It's just that when we use it, it's more effective than the medicine you make yourself. The medicine and gauze are not even worth a catty of lamb. If you use 5 sheep to exchange for it, how much will you pay? That's why you should go back and tell your king that the current Tang is different from the past Tang. If he wants to destroy you, he can destroy you. If he wants to make your life better, he can make your life better. It's not a complete surrender. In fact, it's just a small portion of you who want to have absolute power over the majority of you. They would rather have a bad life in the tribe than lose their power. It's a very selfish behavior." Zhang Xiaobao continued to say to the man who called himself Li Yunyun. Li Yunyun lowered his head and thought. He ate 2 ribs and even chewed the bones. Then he asked, "Are you willing to give up your power?" "You are asking a deep question. Of course I am not willing. But I can make the people who give me power live better lives. I also have the ability to maintain my power. I can also ensure that they are not bullied by others. If they bully others, I will help them bully others. Can your king do that? Zhang Xiaobao frankly admitted that he would not give up his power, but he also pointed out his advantages. Li Yunyun shook his head. No, but we are willing to fight to the end. The sheep you killed may also think the same. Do you care if the sheep resist? In other words, you don't care about us, right? Wrong. We care about you. We don't want to go to that step. We want to continue to expand and fight to the west. I can't sleep well if you are in the middle. What benefits can you give us? Didn't we already give you the technology to build a factory? What factory? Li Yunyun curled his lips. Zhang Xiaobao began to look at him again. After a while, he nodded and said, I can see that you are not a scout. You are the person your tribe sent to contact and negotiate with us. And you are very familiar with many things. If I kill you now, your entire tribe will cry. Not only will they cry, but they will also be very helpless. Li Yunyun smiled and said, You are a man with an Adam's apple. You smile like a woman. Change your name. I understand what you mean. You are the last person to take out. Your tribesmen are all looking at you, looking at us. I really can't kill you. I need someone who is familiar with the Tang Empire. The technology to build the factory was provided because you participated in the Japanese's conspiracy against the Tang Empire. In a few days, there will be a large number of logistics and supply teams passing by your place. There are not many armed guards, and there are things there. We can guard, and we can also take out all kinds of food to exchange with the supply team. I know that the supply team must have special goods for exchange. This way, we don't have to carry more food along the way. A cart of goods for exchange can be exchanged with others on the road for hundreds of carts of food supplies. Without waiting for Zhang Xiaobao to finish, Li Yunyun interrupted Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao smiled. Wang Wan also smiled. The two looked at each other and immediately understood each other's thoughts. It seemed that the people here did not only know how to wait for results, but also knew how to take the initiative to attack. Under the pressure of survival, no one was a fool. The two of them thought of those small countries in the past. In order to survive in the international world, they had to curry favor with a large country while also threatening it. They were like fence-sitters, occasionally moving closer and sometimes moving away. They struggled to survive in the cracks, but even so, they were still attacked by other large countries. Moreover, if not for the current Tang Empire, in normal history, the six Zhao, Tubo, and Zhenla would indeed rely on the Tang Empire while also using it. In the current situation, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan understood that this time, it was not a political and nominal compromise between a weak country and a strong country, but true harmony. It was not that they did not want to, but that they had no choice. When the Tang Empire reached a certain level of strength, any small trick in exchange for absolute destruction. Why did the small countries in the past have such illusions? Because the United States did not have absolute authority, and neither did the Soviet Union. In the end, it was the mutual compromise between the large countries that had tricked them. They wanted to rely on one large country to fight against another, but the other large country was not stupid. So who could fight against the Tang Empire now? Could they still rely on the geographical environment and climate to make the Tang Empire consider whether it was worthwhile to attack? The Tang Empire had trained its soldiers to adapt to the geographical environment over the years. The small skirmishes with Duosha and the disaster relief missions to Tubo were all for this moment. Have you thought it through? Zhang Xiaobao, who had thought it through, asked Li Yunyun. Every time he thought of the other party's name, he felt very uncomfortable. He was clearly a man, but he had to use a woman's name. The canned food is very delicious. In the future, you can actually build a canning factory here. We are willing to help you build other factories further west. Here, we have beautiful mountains and clear waters. If you don't believe me, look at your guards and servants. None of them are affected by the climate. Li Yunyun did not directly answer Zhang Xiaobao's question. Instead, She talked about the canned food and the factory, but the key was in the last sentence. She said that when Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan came here, they did not care about mosquitoes, miasma, or other things. The main defense of the Six Zhao was the environment. It was not that the Tang Empire had not come here to attack before, but the losses were great. After conquering, they could not manage, and in the end, they had to hand over power. Now, the other party's large army had come here without any problems. Was there a need to say anything more? The natural defense line had been broken. As for the battle with their army, if they could defeat more than 10,000 of them, they could directly declare that they were no longer under the jurisdiction of the Tang Empire. The Tang Empire could not do anything to them, but was that possible? Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan also understood the other party's meaning. Zhang Xiaobao said, "The mountains and rivers are indeed good. It will be a tourist attraction. The Tang Empire has other places that are not bad. You can send people to take your family members to see them." Understood. When things are stable, we will move most of our people to see them, Li Yunyun replied. Chapter 13:18. Li Yunyun left. She ate the whole can of food and drank half a caddy of wine. In a daze, she left with a backpack of more than 40 caddies of gifts. Among the gifts, there was a pair of binoculars, a pistol, and 200 bullets. The rest were seeds. As for the canned food, Li Yunyun didn't think it was important. After solving the problem of 1 or 2 tribes, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan continued their journey. They were relieved. Both sides had agreed to build the harmful factories further away and build a canning factory at the same time. When the situation stabilized, a large number of people would migrate to various parts of the Tang Empire for tourism purposes. "Pick up the pace and move forward," Zhang Xiaobao ordered. The team immediately sped up. This made things difficult for Xiao Bei and the others. They couldn't be carried by others all the time. The others were also tired. Usually, they would walk for 2 hours and be carried for an hour before they could catch up with the rest of the group. Although they said they were in a hurry, there was no road at all. They couldn't even see a winding path. There were only mountains and forests around them. Occasionally, they would come across a small valley. They had to take a detour and find a good place to set up camp. The people who walked in the front had the hardest time. Little Bei and the others didn't have to run to the front. When they started walking, there was already a road. All kinds of poisonous insects had been cleaned up. The scenery is beautiful. It's really good. But I still want to stay in a big city. It's wet and humid. It's even worse than when I was in Luzhou. Little Bei wore a pair of thick leather boots. When the team stopped to rest, he walked forward and chose a place where he could see the situation at the foot of the mountain. He complained to the people next to him. Little Yuan and the others found a flat place to lie down. After all, they were still young. It was very tiring to follow the speed of the adults. If it weren't for their good nutrition and exercise, they would have been carried forward. Compared to the 9 of them, Su Yilong, the grandson of Su Jian, who had been following them, was much worse. He was older than Little Bei and the others and came from a good family. He couldn't be compared to Little Bei and the others. Ever since he met Xiao Bei and the others before coming to Yizhou Prefecture, he had never left. Occasionally, Xiao Bei and the others would go out to play children's games while he stayed with the group. Although he was old, his physical strength could not keep up. He was very grateful that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan did not play this kind of rapid march when they first met him. Instead, they gradually increased their speed and at the same time increased their intensity. This gave him a chance to adapt. Although he was not much different from a dead dog now, he could still breathe. "I can't take it anymore." He could eat a lot of rare things since he was young. It would be a lie to say that she was not envious. She ate the other mushroom with the fastest speed and swallowed 2 mouthfuls of rice. Su Yilong scooped some vegetables again and looked at them. She showed a troubled expression. Xiao Yuan looked and handed half of his bamboo tube over. "Give it to me. It's just snake meat. Look at how scared you are." Look carefully when you scoop it later. Don't scoop it up if you don't eat it. Su Ilong happily gave a small piece of snake meat to Xiao Yuan. Xiao Yuan chewed it slowly and nodded repeatedly. She praised, "It's delicious. When it comes to stewing dishes, snake meat is more fragrant. It's much better than rabbit meat. It's very nutritious." When Su Ilong heard that it was very nutritious, she began to regret it. When she was almost done eating, she wondered, "You guys seem to be able to eat anything. Don't you have your own preferences? No matter what, you're raised by a rich family and you have preferences. Look at the situation now. If it weren't for the fact that I could cook it, I would eat it even if it was raw. It's better than starving to death. It's a pity that we can't eat the snake's gall. I'm afraid that there are parasites. Unless it's made into snake gall wine with strong alcohol, I can't drink it." Xiao Yuan despised Su Ilong and lowered her head to eat the last 2 mouthfuls of rice. She then scooped 2 spoonfuls of soup and gulped it down. She touched her stomach. "I'm 60% full. Okay, let's continue the journey later." Su Ilong looked at Xiao Yuan's rice and then looked at his own. He found that the little guy could eat more than him. He was almost full now. After he ate the last mouthful and drank some soup, he estimated that he would be very full. Moreover, he was very envious of the little guys. When they were tired from the journey, they could recover immediately after a little rest. When they were growing, they really could not compare. After the meal, the team continued their journey. No one was injured until they started to set up camp at night. The people who were in charge of protecting the surrounding area cleaned up all the snakes and poisonous insects. As for the legendary terrifying wolf pack, they only saw a shadow and then disappeared from sight. They probably also found out that the crowd was more powerful than them. The meal at night was better than at noon. There were 2 stir-fried dishes and a soup, and there were also pancakes. 5 days later, the team entered the border of India. They started to set up camp at noon because they had just crossed an unknown river. The river was very wide and the current was not fast. It was also not very deep. The deepest part was less than 4 meters. Xiao Bei said it himself. Su Ilong, who did not know how to swim, was dragged to the shore by the little guys. He felt that he had an illusion before. The team led by Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were not elites who were familiar with the mountainous terrain. Although the speed of walking on the mountainous terrain was fast and very stable, compared to swimming, it was really a far cry. Previously, when the current was fast, they formed a line. This time, when the current was slow, they all went down to swim. The logistics personnel even had all kinds of tools. They actually put the pot on the water, put something in the pot, and pushed it across the river. There was also the infantry cannon that weighed more than 400 kilograms. How could more than 20 people carry it over? Some people went back and forth a few times, and all the things they carried were transported over. This was clearly the Navy. They were wearing clothes and were not affected by the river water. When he was dragged over by Xiao Bei and the others, he felt that he could also try to swim, so he let them let go first. As a result, his body sank directly. It was too scary. And when he was dragged over, Xiao Bei let the other 8 little guys drag him temporarily while he caught a fish. He thought that it was just like catching a chicken on land. It was too easy. Xiao Bei, how did you practice to be so good at swimming? After changing clothes, Su Ilong, who started to wash the clothes before, asked Xiao Bei, who was also washing clothes. When she heard Su Ilong's words, she tilted her head and thought for a while. Then, she shook her head. I don't know. I forgot. It's just like that. I heard from them that my brother put me in the water at that time. At first, I looked up and floated happily. Later, when I was a little older, I swam next to my brother and listened to him sing while lying on the water. But I don't remember. How do you lie on the water? Is it like this? Su Ilong stretched out both arms with palms facing down. Xiao Bei shook his head. No, it's like this. Xiao Bei retracted his arms and put his hands under his neck. Wei Wei raised her head. Su Ilong followed suit, and her face changed immediately. Why didn't you sink? Does anyone dare to lie in the water like this? You just need to move your feet a little. Of course, your feet will sink if you don't move. You're so stupid. Think about it, lying on the water and listening to brother sing is so blissful. Xiao Bei felt that he could not scold Su Ilong anymore. Her IQ was too low. Su Ilong nodded and admitted that she was stupid and could not speak reason. The only thing she knew was that some people really could not be looked at with common sense. She was talented and could not be jealous. Then why do all the people in your family know how to swim? Su Ilong stopped talking about Xiao Bei and changed the topic to other people. It's a request. I heard from my sister that brother doesn't want anyone to have an accident in the water. You will know if you go to Sanshui County. Every once in a while, there will be people patrolling the river or the river. They are afraid that other people's children will fall and drown. So when the children in Sanshui County say that they want to go out to play, the adults are relieved when they know that they are going to the river. It's not like other places where the children say that they want to go to the river to play and the adults don't let them. After Xiao Bei finished speaking, he continued to rub his clothes. He looked very serious. Su Ilong said understandingly, "If it were me, I would also be willing to let the children play by the river in Sanshui County. It's safe and stable." Everyone changed their clothes and began to bathe in batches. Xiao Bei felt very uncomfortable because he could not bathe for a few days. He set up his tent here and did not plan to move forward again today. The cooks who had bathed first began to set up pots and ran upstream to catch fish with nets. Zhong Xiaobao had good news. They could already use telegrams to directly contact the army on this road. The army hoped that they could cooperate and prevent any side from providing food supplies to the reinforcements of Duo Shi who were forced to retreat in the northwest. That's right. Previously, the Duo Eater army didn't dare to cross the river and was defeated instead. After they gathered by the river, they were surrounded. Our people actually opened up a gap for them to call for reinforcements. Now, not only did we capture the Duo Eater in the encirclement, we also forced the enemy reinforcements to not dare to fight or retreat. Zhong Xiaobao said happily after reading the telegram. The smile on Wang Wan's face also increased. Of course they don't dare to retreat. If they retreat again, they will give up the area where they are going to harvest the food. It seems that we will have to continue to force our way to the northwest. We will run to the north bank of the Naga River and choose a key area to patrol along the river. We will not let any supplies from the Indian side pass through. At the same time, we will stop the Duo Shi people from escaping to cross the river when we attack this line. With that said, Wang Wan opened the map and pointed at the river basin. This time, they could be considered to have completed the strategic deployment with their attacking troops. No matter what, it was impossible to determine a perfect strategy before this. The battle situation could change at any time. Controlling a supply line that might appear and blocking the Duo Shi people's path of retreat was a very important strategic arrangement. If their troops did not come, they would not have been able to control this line. The Duo Shi people were fighting across borders. They had arranged for manpower in the Indian territory. Originally, it was to attack the Tibetan Lhasa city from this side. Now, it was changed to defense to contain their troops. Otherwise, their troops would continue to head northwest. After crossing the Indian River, they would directly attack the Duo Shi people's territory diagonally. Wang Wan still thought highly of this opponent. She said, "As expected of the country that once defeated our Tang army. Their strategic deployment is pretty good. The history book said that they made a small country betray us and caused us to suffer a crushing defeat. This time, they also know how to contact India and help them resupply. But we are here. Our troops are too conservative. Why should we control the Naga River? Send a telegram back and tell them that we will march parallel to them to the northwest. We will resupply the horses there. Let them only push forward when the logistics can keep up. The Duo Shi people will not know about this. We will control the airspace. The speed of the other people on the land is not as fast as us." Someone immediately went to send the report. Zhong Xiaobao came over to look at the map. He stretched out his hand to measure the distance and said hesitantly, it's too far. We have to cross the Naga River first, then continue to head northwest and cross the Indian River. Just the journey alone will take more than 2 months. And that is under the condition that we have sufficient animal power. You can use a few years for an economic attack. Is 2 months too long for a military attack? Wang Wan said as she rolled her eyes at Zhang Xiaobao. Chapter 13:19. The title of the previous chapter was wrong. It was Chapter 9:23. I'm contacting the editor to change it. Sorry. After an afternoon of rest and a night of rest, the next day was another morning of preparation. All the tools were checked, and the scratches on their bodies were treated. After eating an all-fish feast at noon, everyone was refreshed and headed toward the Brahmaputra River at a moderate speed. It was not entirely correct to say that they were heading toward a river. To be precise, they were heading toward the settlement of the local people. According to the information they had obtained from the Duo people, there was a large tribe of more than 3,000 people here. This tribe was managed by a person from the Mishi Che tribe. They were the ones who had provided help to the Duo people. However, when the people in front of them came and questioned them, the local people did not admit it and even entertained the Tang people. As this was not the main strategic target and there were many mountains and small lakes, the local people lived relatively scattered. Therefore, the Tang troops were not in the mood to clear them out. Instead, they left them here and waited to attack the Duo people along the river. In the end, after ambushing the Duo people who had regrouped, the strategic target was changed and this place was left behind. Now, the large group of people and horses were heading northwest. Coincidentally, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan led the group and appeared. The telegram told them the situation here and told them to deal with it. Where is this place? It looks very familiar. Following a branch of the Brahmaputra River, which was the current river, they headed northwest. As the river bank was relatively flat, there did not seem to be a large valley in front of them. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan sat on the donkey cart and looked at the map. Zhang Xiaobao looked at the calculated location in the telegram and drew a circle on the map. He found that this place looked a little familiar. Wang Wan glanced at it and smiled. This is T-Spur. It does not have a large population, but it is an important military garrison city in India. There are people in this shabby place now? It looks like there are quite a few of them. 3,000 people. In this small country, it is a big force. After hearing Wang Wan's explanation, Zhang Xiaobao finally understood why he found it familiar. It was a strategic location. As long as one occasionally looked up interesting discussions or debates about military and history on the internet, they would naturally understand. It was just that Zhang Xiaobao did not care about other people's strategic military locations in the past. To him, such a small place was not worth it for him to deceive. The main reason was that the difficulty level was equally high. Since it was a strategic location, if he were to deceive them, the first thing they would think of would be that he was a spy. It was the same for anyone else. That was why Zhang Xiaobao had always avoided the same place when he was cheating. Now, he finally had a little recollection of it. What I'm thinking about is not how many people they have, but what kind of punishment we should give them when we arrive. It's not our style to just let them go. It doesn't seem like a good idea to just kill them all. It's easy to kill, but there has to be a purpose. If we kill for the sake of killing, human nature will change. Who knows, we might have nightmares after killing too many. Zhang Xiaobao's hand began to knock on his face. Wang Wan did not believe Zhang Xiaobao's dignified words, saying that he would have nightmares after killing people. Based on the people Zhang Xiaobao had killed, it was impossible for him to sleep so peacefully now. Of course, she did not intend to kill people either. She wanted to see what kind of good idea Zhang Xiaobao could come up with. Xiao Bei and the other 9, including Su Yilong, who were also sitting in the car behind them, were like brothers and sisters. They knew that there was a group of people here who had provided help to the Palivarus people. Not only did they not attack the Palivarus people, but they also made way for them and provided food and game supplies. Why is it game? Could it be that the Palivarus people like this? I don't even dare to say that it's very expensive to eat game every day. Xiao Bei squatted in the car, hugging his bent legs with both hands. He looked at the white clouds in the sky and said leisurely. Su Ilong did not believe Xiao Bei's words at all. You're here to complain about being poor in front of me? Who am I going to cry to? Any restaurant in your family has a continuous supply of game every day. You have the nerve to say that it's expensive? After criticizing in her heart, Su Ilong found that Xiao Bei looked at her after looking at the clouds. She wanted her to explain why the palivorous people liked to eat game. After thinking for a while, Su Ilong replied, I think it's because the meat of the game is more fragrant. It's a delicacy. Does it mean that they can also make delicious bear paws and monkey heads? I have never eaten it before. My brother didn't allow me to. Our restaurant doesn't have monkey heads as a dish. We have monkey head mushrooms, but we don't lack bear paws. The main thing is that monkey heads are too cruel. My brother said that if you get used to the habit of torturing and killing for food, then your human nature will change. So you see, I rarely torture people. Usually, I just kill when I can. Those standing in front of the Vermilion Bird Avenue, I have no choice. Killing people can no longer be a deterrent. As Xiao Bei spoke, she talked about delicacies and expressed that she did not want to eat animals by torturing and killing them. Su Ilong did not think much of it. Her thinking was not high enough. She thought that it was fine as long as she ate happily. She nodded and said, It's a pity. Since they can't make that kind of delicious food, why waste the ingredients for them? What you said about the game is wrong. Xiao Bei said to Su Ilong. Su Ilong was depressed. After thinking about it again, she pretended to be enlightened. I know, it's because they can't bear to give their livestock to people who eat more. Wrong, it's because they don't have any livestock at all. Do you think they're like my Tang Dynasty, where we can raise livestock whenever we want? Raising chickens and pigs requires skills. The Senongsi Temple is not a decoration. Xiao Bei shook her head gently and said to Su Ilong. Su Ilong was even more depressed. Since you know, why are you still asking me? It's to teach you how to think about problems. Grandpa Su sent you here because he wanted you to learn from us, not to enjoy a simple life of eating, drinking, and playing. People will always gradually lose their ability to think when they are in a safe place. Xiao Bei taught Su Ilong like an adult. Safe. Enjoy. Like how I am now. Su Ilong pointed at herself, then pointed at the broken donkey cart that was assembled under her. She waved her arms, enclosing the beautiful and primitive scenery around her. That meant that she had followed them all the way here, but she didn't enjoy it at all. She had suffered a lot, and it seemed that she would continue to suffer. Xiao Bei nodded. That's right. Look, you're so good now, traveling with us. If it weren't for us, would you dare to come here alone to play? You don't need to think about getting money now, and you don't have to worry about fighting at the front. Isn't it safe enough? After hearing what you said, it seems to be true. Su Ilong found that Xiao Bei's words made sense. Then she thought about it, but felt that something was wrong. Was she really comfortable? All right, the road ahead is not easy to walk. Get off, don't tire the donkey out. Poor donkey, if it wasn't because we don't have enough mules, why would we call it over? It's a pity that horses are too delicate and can't travel with us. From this, it tells us not to ignore the things around us that seem ordinary. Horses and cows are good, but they may not be useful all the time. It's naturally more comfortable to associate with a gentleman, but it's impossible for everyone around you to be a gentleman. The person who flatters you may not have no self-respect. It's just that he chose such a method of interpersonal communication. If you ignore him, he may let you experience what is called pain at a critical moment. But when you value him, sometimes you will have unimaginable gains. His flattery doesn't mean that he doesn't know who is good and who is bad. How many gentlemen can take a bullet for you? This is what my brother said. Those who are righteous are the butchers, and those who are ruthless are the scholars. Cherish it. Don't think that your soul is higher than others just because you are the grandson of Jixian Courtyard's Grand Secretary Su Jian. When you feel that others are worthless to you, you have also lost your value to them. Xiao Bei jumped off the cart, raised his arm and patted the donkey's butt, and said to Su Yilong. After Su Yilong got off the cart, she followed the team in a daze. Her mind was filled with Xiao Bei's words. She felt that it was true. She had indeed neglected a lot of people around her. When others asked to see her, she immediately rejected them when she heard their identity. Then, the other party would definitely feel uncomfortable in their hearts. If one day she was in danger, and there was such a person beside her who could help to save her, but when the other party thought of the past and stood there to watch the show, wouldn't she die of cowardice? But, Xiao Bei, what if you meet a villain? Su Yilong thought of this problem and chased after it and asked. Xiao Bei found a carrot from somewhere and was following the donkey to feed it. The donkey was eating happily, which could be seen from its eyes. Xiao Yuan helped to answer, what villain? Selfishness is just a little more obvious. When can human nature distinguish between good and evil? Those who are good to me are good people, and those who are bad to me are bad people. It's that simple. Su Yilong listened to Xiao Yuan's words and felt that it was simply slandering a gentleman, but she couldn't find any evidence to refute it. A gentleman was also selfish most of the time. It was just that, in front of righteousness, they would show their identity as a leader. But did the so-called villain not have righteousness? Look at those ruffians. In the past, many soldiers would go to the brothels when they had nothing to do, and they would also drink and cause trouble. However, when they needed to contribute, they would also fight with their lives on the line with swords and guns. Of course, the quality of the soldiers now was much higher. It was not easy for Cuckoo to have that kind of situation in the past. At the same time, the benefits were very high. More importantly, the weapons were advanced. As long as they trained well, the possibility of dying under normal circumstances was very small. Therefore, the soldiers would use their free time to train instead of worrying about the war tomorrow. They would enjoy themselves as much as they could. That way they might really die. What a mess, a group of demons. Su Yilong couldn't help but admire the 9 little guys that followed him. However, there was a faint trace of unwillingness in her heart. Why were the 9 children better than her? Speaking of being born well, Xiao Yuan, Xiao Hai, Xiao Zhu, and Xiao Bei were indeed born from Xiao Bao and Cuckoo's parents. Jealousy was useless. That was their talent. But the remaining 5 children should be more normal, right? But were they normal? It was obvious that they were taught later. She was not worse than others. Sometimes it was IQ. For IQ, this term was very interesting. It could also be tested. Her IQ was 126. Who was worse than? Su Yilong pondered, and her eyes followed. She wanted to find an opportunity to prove herself in front of the 9 little guys, and not to look for Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. If she ran to show off her ability in front of the 2 of them, the result was estimated to be very tragic. Poetry, music, chess, calligraphy, painting, swords, spears, halberds, axes, hooks, and forks, she did not seem to have any advantage and would be confused by the 2 of them. Then, she could only choose to start with the 9 little guys. Although it felt very shameful, she had to consider from another perspective. They were not ordinary children. It was not wrong to not treat them as children. Thinking like this, Su Yilong smiled and strode to Xiao Yuan's side. She said to Xiao Yuan, I heard that you have a photographic memory and are proficient in literature. Is that true? You want to check information? Xiao Yuan looked up and asked. He was used to his special identity. He was always used as a tool by the other 8 siblings. Sometimes, his brother and sister would specially give him a book of information for him to memorize. When needed, they would call him to ask. Su Yilong shook her head repeatedly. She did not want to compete with Xiao Yuan in terms of memory. She did not intend to come here to be abused. I want to see your poetry skills. You have to know that just memorizing is not enough. You have to learn to use it, right? Yes, I'm not a reference book. I'm a person. Are you planning to write a poem with me? Xiao Yuan felt that Su Yilong was still the best. He did not simply treat himself as a tool to check information. Yes, yes. Write poems. Write poems to cultivate sentiment. Yes, I found that there are a lot of new words now. Why don't the two of us choose a place with beautiful scenery and then each write a poem? Let's add some stakes. Su Yilong knew that Xiao Yuan was rich and planned to make a small profit. Otherwise, what if she vomited blood from jealousy when others had too much money to spend? Xiao Yuan thought about it and agreed, okay, when we reach the place, let's compete together. Stakes are gambling stakes. I understand, but let me say first, we can't play big. Brother opposes gambling. Although brother's gambling skills are very good, you can't exceed 1,000 strings of coins at a time. Small bet, 1,000 strings of coins? Can't it be 1,000 coins? Su Yilong was obviously not confident when she spoke. This was too much of a bully. This group of little guys was too much of a bully. Coins? Alright, it's just entertainment. Money doesn't matter. Wait until we meet people and find a lake, okay? If you write a poem now, I'm afraid you won't be able to make it on time. It'll be troublesome if you fall. Xiao Yuan was very understanding. He knew that Su Yilong did not have much money. Moreover, scholars like Su Yilong needed to prepare when writing poems. It was easy for them to lose sight of their feet when they were rushing. Su Yilong knew that Xiao Yuan had no ill intentions, but she still felt uncomfortable in her heart. She was looked down upon. After considering her own situation, she had no choice but to agree. Okay, when we reach the place, we'll choose a scenery and learn from each other. At this moment, Xiao Bei, who had finished feeding the donkey, spoke. Are the two of you betting? Can you bet on the periphery? I bet on my Xiao Yuan to win. 50 coins. Me too, 50 coins. Xiao Hai immediately followed. Then, there were a few other little guys. Su Yilong agreed one by one. The stakes were not high, so she accepted the periphery. Then, she realized that she was wrong. With Xiao Bei's call, the people in the group all bet 50 coins on Xiao Yuan to win. Su Yilong calculated. Even if the number of people was removed, 10,000 people would be 500,000 coins, which was a total of 500 strings of coins. Chapter 1320. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan also heard about Su Yilong and her brother Xiao Yuan's poetry gambling. The two just smiled and did not pay much attention to it. They knew that it was impossible for Xiao Yuan to take the initiative to propose a bet. It must be Su Yilong who wanted to make some money. Moreover, Su Yilong was asked to come over to play with the little guys. Back then, Su Yilong had planned to find additional opportunities to earn money while playing with Xiao Bei and the others. In the end, she did not bring him along. The investment amount of the little guys was too large. He wanted to participate, but he could not afford the capital. After leaving Yizhou, it was even more impossible for him to find opportunities to make money. Earning money in the 6 Zhao places? That was all bartering. He could only follow and watch. Now that he was really upset, he wanted to compete with the little guys and earn some money to comfort himself. Moreover, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan also clearly knew that Su Yilong seemed to admire the 9 little guys very much. She was shocked by the previous contact. Along the way, she always wanted to find an opportunity to show her ability. In that case, let them play. Although it was also gambling, gambling on poetry was better than gambling on dice. Actually, I have always thought that gambling is not good. Zhang Xiaobao said along with Su Yilong and Xiao Yuan's gambling. Wang Wan did not say anything. She blinked twice and stared at Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao was embarrassed by her stare and said, "Gambling without a purpose is not good. I used to gamble with a purpose. Do you agree? The purpose of gambling is to win. Everyone is the same. Don't find excuses. That dice made you listen. You really don't feel ashamed." Wang Wan admired Zhang Xiaobao's gambling skills, but she would not agree with Zhang Xiaobao, who said that the purpose of gambling is to win. Is there no one who deliberately loses money? For example, you relied on your identity and found that you had no money in hand. What should you do? Isn't it? It's fine as long as I catch you. You have money, so I don't need to gamble with others. Actually, I can make money by catching people. Moreover, I don't need to go through that kind of soul-stirring process and frighten others. Wang Wan said to Zhang Xiaobao with a smile. She pointed to the circle on the map and asked, "Have you thought of a way? Gambling? How do you know?" Zhang Xiaobao revealed a shocked expression, and his body even moved backwards to hide, giving people the feeling that his thoughts had been seen through. Wang Wan leaned forward. "I'm your wife. You've already reminded me. Otherwise, why would you mention Xiao Yuan and Su Yilong's gambling for no reason? Would you care about winning or losing a few hundred hits? Husband, am I right? Don't. Many people are watching." Zhang Xiaobao had a bashful look on his face. The people around him didn't look at him and didn't move their ears. Obviously, they were used to it. If it were other rich people, this would be very rude. However, they felt that it was normal for their young master and young lady to flirt together. Only mortals would care about other people's thoughts, while little immortals were unrestrained. Moreover, although the two people were so intimate, the plan that came out during the intimate process was accompanied by blood. Listening to it could also increase one's knowledge. The people beside the donkey cart, including the donkey pulling the cart, were very calm. Zhang Xiaobao was even more calm. Seeing Wang Wan's beautiful big eyes staring at him, he said gently, "Madam, you've seen through my little plan. Since that's the case, why don't we have an in-depth communication?" "Okay." Wang Wan's voice was even more charming. "Husband, how do you want to communicate? How do we go in-depth? For example, we can compete with them in hunting in the mountains and diving in the lake. The two of us and the 9 little guys will participate. I believe that Xiao Bei and the rest won't drop the ball at the crucial moment." Zhang Xiaobao said. "And that's deep enough. How do we communicate?" Wang Wan also did not doubt that her younger brother and sister would be worse than others in the water. Especially Xiao Bei, whose talent in the water was almost demonic. After this battle, they would go back and hold a large-scale sports meet between the Tang Empire and the surrounding countries. Then, they would let Xiao Bei participate in water sports, such as diving, swimming, and so on. They would use a video recorder to record it and show it to the people of the Tang Empire. Zhang Xiaobao also had the same idea. He wanted to add a few more sports, such as shooting. When the others were absent, the people of his country could compete by themselves. He and Wang Wan could also participate in the frisbee game. He had not played for a long time and missed it. "What else?" Wang Wan asked again. "I plan to get their people to follow the team. Otherwise, it would be a pity to kill them. To be honest, when you mention Tisper, I don't think of India, but Chronicles of the Western Regions. It also says that the current ruling class is no longer the same as when the little monk came out. The previous leader of the Kamal Nagbo kingdom has changed. And I remember that around this region, the religions are very chaotic. Of course, it's not as chaotic as my Chinese religion. When a religion exists in a place, not only does it show that there are different beliefs, but it also reflects war, bloodshed, and sacrifice. The conflicts between religions are no different from the conflicts between countries. And some countries are religious countries themselves. Since that's the case, why can't we help them? Can we bear to see them suffer in this place, be despised, bullied, and then live a difficult life? As Zhang Xiaobao finished speaking, the corners of his mouth turned down and his head tilted up. His eyes were filled with unyielding grief and anger. "You want me to vomit, don't you? Just say that you plan to trick them into working as laborers. Why do you need to find so many excuses? Indeed, it's no longer the era of the Kamal. It's been replaced by the Maricha clan. The entire region is very large, including a section of the Ganges. Even in our time, it hasn't changed much. The caste system still exists. It's a very important aspect of the Two Rivers Basin in India. Tell me your complete plan. Don't mention anything about helping others. Look, even the donkey is laughing. What Wang Wan wanted to hear now was Zhang Xiaobao's comprehensive plan. Just now, he had tapped his face with his fingers for a while. She hadn't seen him like this for a long time. She definitely wouldn't believe that he didn't have a series of plans that could be used to scheme against others. Zhang Xiaobao became shy for a moment. No. There's no comprehensive plan. I just want to deal with the other party's 3,000 people first. Look, they helped Duosher. I've already guessed the reason. It's probably because Duosher promised them that after occupying Lhasa City, he would continue to occupy Qinghai Lake. In this way, we can provide an endless supply of salt to others. Living in this era where people start a war for salt, I don't know if I should be happy or sad for those who died in battle. Wang Wan first glared at Zhang Xiaobao and said, I know about the salt, but your purpose is definitely not that simple. It's just like the economic invasion plan against Duosher that can be implemented immediately. Then you wait and see if that's the case. Zhang Xiaobao didn't say anything. He looked like a dead pig that wasn't afraid of boiling water. Let's wait and see. Are you planning to give salt to these 3,000 people? Wang Wan asked. She felt that if Zhang Xiaobao really used salt as a bet, the other party wouldn't be able to resist. Salt was really too cheap and too expensive. During her and Xiaobao's time, no one would buy a lot of salt and table salt. Of course, industrial salt needed a lot. The salt they ate was too much. The least valuable thing was salt. It was the same all over the world. It wasn't because salt couldn't make money, but because no one dared to use salt to make money. Many countries were destroyed by salt. As long as a salt tax was collected in every dynasty, as long as a portion of people controlled the price of salt, it meant that the dynasty was about to end. Salt was the most basic standard to measure social stability. It was more forward-looking than food. The lack of food was the fundamental impetus for a country's instability. The rise in the price of salt was the beginning of the instability. It was such a common thing that no one could live without. Therefore, the people who enjoyed the low price of salt should be grateful to this regime. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's thoughts were the same, so the words he replied at this moment were also in line with Wang Wan's thoughts. I want to give them some salt first, then bet on their ability to survive in the jungle and mountains, the ability to dive and catch fish, or the speed of swimming, etc. If they win, we'll keep half of the salt and guarantee that the salt they eat in the future will be free. What if we win? Wang Wan played along and asked. If we win, they have to follow our team forward. We'll provide them with the salt they need along the way, and they'll help us hunt and pick wild vegetables. At the same time, after we win, we can still provide them with a large amount of salt, but they have to work in exchange. As long as they work for a day, they can get 20 to 100 grams of salt, depending on their efficiency and the danger of the work. For example, mining. In just 12 hours of mining, they can get 100 grams of salt, 100 grams. Zhang Xiaobao said seriously, as if the reward was very high. Do you dare to say this to the people of our time? 100 grams is equal to 2 taels of salt, right? A good well was 5 yuan per caddy, so you can earn 1 yuan per day for mining, right? A caddy of ordinary northeastern rice is more than 7 yuan. Wang Wan was amused by Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao's expression was so serious that it made people feel that it was not 100 grams of salt, but gold. Zhang Xiaobao was discouraged and said with a smile, I'm telling the truth. You can't always use the rules of another era to measure the things in front of you. I know that salt is worthless, and gasoline and diesel are worthless. Maritime satellite phones have been eliminated, because all mobile phones are directly connected to satellites and have global coverage. The problem is, do you have it now? If you really want to talk about it, who will give me my yachts and private jets? Do I need to take a donkey cart? I'm not here to experience life as a tourist. This is the happiness and sorrow of the era, and the helplessness and suffering under the suppression of technology. Let's help them. I think we can just use salt to open the road in the future. We don't need to exchange other goods, especially your follow-up economic means. Why use this and that? Salt is enough, Wang Wan said. No, there needs to be luxury goods for the upper class. The better the upper class enjoys, the angrier the people are. When a regime is rotten to a certain extent, it is the moment they enjoy the best luxury goods. Take this opportunity to attack them, and their people will no longer support their upper class. When the people of a country ruled by a regime are living well, and the power of the ruler is restricted, you must not attack. You can't win, just like America. Wang Wan did not wait for Zhang Xiaobao to finish and said 2 words. Chapter 13:21. The team continued to move forward. In the evening, they found a spacious place to set up camp and sent out scouts to spread out in all directions. In the middle of the night, the scout at the front came back and reported that he had found signs of human activity in the area. There was the light of torches. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan did not expect to be so close to the other side. According to the distance and the time it took for the scouts to travel, they estimated that they had only traveled about 20 miles. While telling the scouts to rest, Zhang Xiaobao got up to discuss with Wang Wan. What's there to talk about? Who said that all people can only live together? 3,000 people. Do you think this lousy place is suitable for so many people to live together? What the scouts saw should be a small group of people with a bad status in the group. They are arranged to live outside. When they encounter danger, they have to report to the people inside. If they encounter an enemy, they can resist for a while. Moreover, there must be flat land around the people inside, suitable for farming. Wang Wan analyzed from the social hierarchy. Zhang Xiaobao thought about it and said, if it were me, I would be very willing to live outside, especially the river next to it. I would rather guard it than go back and live with more people. I don't need many, just give me 100 people to manage. That's enough. You stay, we'll go back. You use salt to hire 100 people. I'll come and see you in 3 years. Wang Wan smiled and said to Zhang Xiaobao. Bickering, what I mean is development. What development can we get by staying in a ditch? How can we expect a Brahmaputra river? Every year, the floods will confuse them, not to mention how to use it. What is this place? Look, it's going to rain again. The weather is so stuffy. They live here and really rely on the weather to make a living. It was not easy to grow wheat, but when the heavy rain comes, it will be washed away. Who cares? It's different outside. For example, on the road we came here, there is a large plain formed by the river. This river is not very wide, the current is not very fast, and the deepest place when crossing the river is only about 4 meters. Find a place with a more stable mountain to build a house, then raise cattle, sheep, pigs, and poultry, such as ducks and geese. Build terraced fields on the mountains opposite, plant wheat, and grow rice in the alluvial land below. Is it better to set up wooden rafts on the river, hang fishing nets, dry the fish caught in the nets, and store the food than not being close to the river? How good is your life? Zhang Xiaobao went along with his own thoughts. He felt that the locals did not know how to live and would not become rich. They threw away all their advantages and squeezed there to live. Now that there was no strategic location there, why bother? As Wang Wan listened to Zhang Xiaobao, she suddenly thought of Sanshui County. At that time, it was only a medium-sized county. The river did not connect to the capital. Life at home was not bad. It was close to the mountains and the water. The life of a farmer was far worse than that of the people in the capital. What should be used was not used. It was not that the locals did not want to use it, but they did not know how to. They were used to a way of life. If they wanted to change, they needed a lot of courage and courage. If it were not for her and Xiao Bao, perhaps the life of a farmer would still be the same. Sanshui County would still be the original Sanshui County. How could it become the first county of Tang Dynasty? Wait for the future. Wang Wan heard the thunder outside, but she was not worried. When they set up camp, they had already considered this situation. There was no danger at all, even if it was raining heavily. Wait for the future? Zhang Xiaobao began to put on his coat. During the day, he was not tired sitting in the carriage. At night, he had rested enough. Now was the time to take a look at the camp, especially the little ones. When they saw the rain, they ran out excitedly. Wang Wan also put on her coat. She was not wearing the normal clothes of this era. Those kinds of clothes were strenuous. Now, it was popular to use buttons and chains. After putting on her coat, she said to Zhang Xiaobao, "When we occupy this place in the future, you can tell the Tang people your idea and let them build it. They can even build a simple dam. We can't count on the locals. They don't know how to build dams. Our Tang people are smart. When there is no cement and steel, they can build dams one after another. Why do we need special high-grade cement to reinforce the canals? Wisdom. That's right. We are so smart. India is so poor. After more than 1,000 years of development, they want to compete with us? It will tire them out. But it is because they are stupid that many species that have disappeared from our place are preserved. Our people are too smart. Animals and plants are no match for us. Today, there is one species, tomorrow, there will be 2 pairs. Then, when we talk about something, we look at Bangladesh and India. I really can't say whether it is right or wrong. Zhang Xiaobao really looked down on the people here. He felt that they were not a threat and could be bullied whenever he wanted. After so many years of development, China did not even have a place of its own. India still had a large area of empty land and a large population. How could it be crowded? The most interesting thing was that as a Buddhist country, they did not have their own historical records. They had to write their own history based on other people's records. How sad was this? An ordinary civilization could not do this. Thinking of history, Zhang Xiaobao could not help but laugh. Wang Wan was puzzled. When she walked out of the tent, she asked, "Are you very happy?" "Just so." When the little monk came, he made people speechless. He called him Mahayana God, liberating God, and so on. Later, when I write a travel book, India will use it to compile its own history. Now, let's have someone write a history and tell the Indians that they used to be slaves of the Tang Dynasty. They should continue to be slaves. Anyway, they still have the slave system now. How much trouble can we save, right? Zhang Xiaobao chuckled as he spoke of his idea. It was as if he was very happy to be able to fool others. Wang Wan stood outside and looked at the sky. There was no trace of the moon and stars. It was pitch black. The sound of the diesel generator could be heard. The searchlight shone up and dark clouds could be seen rolling in the sky. After hearing Zhang Xiaobao's words, she curled her lips. How free! If you have the time, why don't you let people write books? Our textbooks are much worse, especially the basic language. There are very few good articles. Children learn from the moment they are born. Their intelligence can't keep up. Do you think they are like Xiaoyuan? Children waste a lot of time on the basics of language. Why don't you design more books for language teaching? To put it more bluntly, when they grow up, they can slowly learn more things. When that time comes, those who don't want to learn don't learn. It's not necessary to write the book of songs to be amazing. You can also launch satellites into the sky. That's where you are wrong. People who have the ability to launch satellites have a good foundation in literature. At the same time, they have a solid foundation in foreign languages. For example, people like me are better at learning foreign languages. Zhang Xiaobao praised himself without blushing. You are trying to fool people, not to launch satellites. Oh, you can also say that you are trying to launch satellites. Do you know Indian? The little monk came over and had a good communication. Wang Wan thought of a problem. Not to mention here, there were many dialects that she could not learn. How did Tang Seng speak to people in the past? One language could be used everywhere? Zhang Xiaobao puffed up his chest and said, I do know a little Indian language, and I can still use it now. The Indian language hasn't changed much, just like our Tang Dynasty. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to understand the poem at all. When I read it, I realized that the rhythm and other things are exactly the same. It's just that the pronunciation of the words needs to be read according to the poem. For example, slant can be read as xia, hui can be read as huan, and huai, and so on. It's much easier than memorizing words. Then when you meet the other party, you will be in charge of communicating. If you can't, get someone to find Chronicles of the Western Regions and compare it to the situation. Wang Wan gave Zhang Xiaobao a task. Zhang Xiaobao shook his head and nodded. I can communicate with the other party, but I can't compare it to what the little monk wrote. It's too fake. After he translated it, I can't read it. It feels like the people here are like us and can speak classical Chinese casually. Who am I trying to fool? I took a few glances and then stopped. It's boring and I don't need it. I'm not here to have a normal cultural and technological exchange with them. As the two of them were talking, the rain poured down. The two of them put on their raincoats and rain boots and strolled around the tents. Xiao Bei and the others woke up as expected. They also put on their raincoats and stood outside the big tent to look at the sky. Every time there was a flash of lightning in the sky, they would cover their ears and wait for the sound of thunder. The rumbling sounds seemed very interesting to them. If you don't enter the tent, do you want to be struck by lightning? When Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan came over, the little guys didn't notice. They were startled by Zhang Xiaobao's shout. Oh, I thought there was a sudden thunder in our ears. We came out to take a look. It's stuffy inside the tent, so the lightning won't strike us. There are lightning rods set up higher up. In fact, we want to see how the lightning looks when it hits the lightning rods. Brother, you said that lightning is also electricity. If we can use it, then we don't need to use other things to generate electricity, right? Xiao Bei stepped on the gathered water and jumped in front of Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao nodded first and then shook his head. Lightning is indeed electricity, and the voltage and current are not small. If the electricity of one lightning bolt can be stored, it will definitely be enough for more than 10,000 people to use for half a year. But because there is too much energy, we don't have a way to store it. It comes and goes quickly, unless there is a way to slow down the speed of the lightning when it disappears unnaturally. If there is such a technique, it is enough for us to collect more energy. Why do we have to focus on collecting lightning? Oh, is it because our technique is not good enough? Xiao Bei said disappointedly. Yes, you're still far from it. It's not easy to conquer nature. Moreover, there are many masterpieces in nature. For example, in movies, under the circumstances of special topography and rock structure, as well as the current thunderstorm, some images and sounds can be recorded. When the next thunderstorm occurs, it can be reproduced. It is the same principle as the equipment we use to shoot movies. Humans learn a lot of things when they adapt and study nature. So, the subject of nature is not simple. Zhang Xiaobao explained to his younger siblings. We can already film, but we are here. I don't know if it will be screened. I want to film many movies in the future, Xiao Bei said. Chapter 13:22. Due to the shape of the earth and the fact that he had nothing to do, the morning in Chong, and came earlier than where Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were at. Li Longji woke up not long after Xiao Bei said that she was looking forward to him making many movies. Last night, he slept with the Empress and concubine Wu. He didn't dare to let the ministers know about this. Otherwise, they would definitely postpone other matters during the morning court session and start discussing etiquette with the emperor. After all, the Empress had a high status and couldn't sleep with other women. If Li Longji wanted to sleep with a few more women, he could, but he had to get up and move to another place. It wouldn't be easy for him to sleep with 2 or more women. Not only did the ministers refuse, but the women also refused. Unless he didn't say that he was the emperor and went to a brothel, then there wouldn't be a problem. Of course, it wasn't just 2 women. Even if it was just 1 woman, it couldn't be during the day. Otherwise, the ministers would object and find many reasons to make the emperor lower his head. It wasn't that Li Longji hadn't been pointed at and scolded in the morning court session, but he hid his matters with women well. The palace maids and eunuchs wouldn't talk about it. Empress Wang and concubine Wu, who shouldn't have been able to spend the night with him, agreed to it now. The two of them also couldn't talk about sleeping with the emperor at night. Otherwise, the people who heard them would go crazy. Li Longji, who woke up early in the morning, was full of energy and didn't look weak at all. Previously, during the morning court session, the ministers said that the imperial physicians should be heavily rewarded. They were the ones who took good care of the emperor's body. Li Longji rewarded the imperial physicians according to the minister's words. The imperial physicians took the reward money and sent half of it to the savant's restaurant to be deposited in the donation box. First, it was to repay the kindness. Their medical skills were getting better and better because of the medical school. The medical school had two sets of profits. One was the normal profits of traditional Chinese medicine, and the other was the utilitarian profits. They would give eye drops when their eyes hurt, and not use the Bezor detoxification pill to check if the patient was heady. The two theories could influence and promote each other, making the imperial physician's medical skills even more exquisite. Sometimes, when they encountered an official who was ill, they would also give him anesthetic to perform surgery to save time. Otherwise, if they used acupuncture and ointment, the treatment would take several months. Secondly, the imperial physicians knew that the emperor's good complexion was not only due to their help in looking after him, but also because of the emperor's own judgment. The emperor was in a good mood, and his diet was good. He was not tired usually, and when he had nothing to do, he would go out of the palace for a stroll. Of course, he would be healthy. However, the credit didn't fall on their heads. It was Xiao Bao and Cuckoo who planned it well. Unlike the previous emperor, who was washed away by water today and had no money or food, and who was crushed by snow the next day and had no people or goods, the ministers came up with a plan. They needed to repair the riverbanks and pave the roads. The national treasury was still in debt. In addition, the people in various places were playing the game of rebellion, and the surrounding countries were attacking the passes and border areas. When the imperial physicians thought about it, they felt scared and worried to death. That was why they said that it was not easy to be the emperor. However, with Xiao Bao and Cuckoo, things became simple. As long as the local officials were not stupid and not greedy, they would follow the procedures and the losses would be very small. For example, when it was raining heavily, the local officials would ask the people to evacuate and wait for the flood to come back. When the houses collapsed and the fields were flooded, the local garrison would be mobilized. They would treat it as training for the construction of fortifications and would fix it for you. If you lost something valuable at home, if you reported it, the fund would compensate you. If you wanted to cheat others, once your neighbor exposed you, the problem would be serious. The surrounding countries had been properly dealt with by the two of them over the years, so now the emperor didn't seem to have anything to worry about. Based on these 2 points, the imperial physicians donated half of the money. They didn't dare to take the full credit. They also knew that the donated money didn't belong to the Zhong family and the Wang family. They wouldn't use it themselves, but at least it would make them take less money when they took out money. When Li Longji knew of this situation, he was very gratified and relieved. Otherwise, he would really consider changing the imperial physicians. It was not a good thing for the imperial physicians to be too selfish. He decided to give the imperial physicians some benefits, so he spoke first during the morning court. After the officials greeted each other, Li Longji returned the greeting. In the past, it was rare for the emperor to not greet the officials in front of everyone. Today, he was very happy because yesterday evening, he heard that 80% of the people from Xinhua and Japan who had brought their children to participate in the competition had decided to stay in the Tang Dynasty before the competition ended. Xiao Bei and the other 9 little fellows had suggested that Xiao Bao and Huan Huan's plan to replenish the troops had succeeded. Those who remained would be sent back after half a year. In the name of being dispatched, they would be sent to spread the good news of the great Tang. Coupled with the invasion of the people's livelihood, it would take at most a year for Xinhua to collapse first, followed by Japan. This year's autumn harvest was still Xinhua's cotton. They didn't exchange it for food, but for money from the Tang Dynasty. Japan also planted special economic crops, not food, and they also exchanged it for money from the Tang Dynasty. There didn't seem to be any disadvantages. With the Senongsi's research, productivity increased. The Tang Dynasty's food was cheap, very cheap. The Tang Dynasty's money could buy food that was much better than the local food of the two countries. However, the problem lay in the human nature that Xiao Bao and Cuckoo said. To them, the Tang Dynasty's money was foreign exchange. Foreign exchange could be used to buy food, and they wouldn't be able to finish it even if they ate. In reality, the ruling class wouldn't buy food. They would use the money to buy luxury goods. The result was that the common people did not have enough food. The common people were not fools. They knew how much grain the Great Tang could buy with the money they had spent on 1 mu of cotton. Normally, half a mu of cotton could buy as much grain as they could buy with the money they had spent on 1 mu of cotton. Under such circumstances, if they planted cotton and realized that they were hungry in the end, what would happen to the money? They would know that the money was changed into beautiful clothes and ornaments by the people above them. At the same time, the descendants of the people above them would take the money to the Tang Dynasty to enjoy life. The hidden danger of the people's hearts had been buried for several years. This year, they would work harder. He didn't believe that they wouldn't give up their traditions and completely submit to the Tang Dynasty. The more Li Longji thought about it, the more excited he became. He only doted on 2 women at night. Empress Wang and Wu Huifei were also happy about this matter and accompanied the emperor for half the night. I'll say 3 things first. Li Longji, who was happy and spoke first, said into the microphone. The officials began to look for a seat. There were small tables, stools, tea, and fruit juice behind them, but there were no snacks. They had to be prepared by themselves. But when it was time to eat, they would call you. Don't choke. Most of the officials sat down. They knew that today's morning court would take a long time. If they were tired from standing, they wouldn't have the energy to do serious things when they went back. Only a small number of newly promoted officials participated in the morning court for the first time today. They didn't expect that the morning court would be like this because no one told them. Sit down. I feel annoyed when I see you standing. Those who stand may not be respectful to me, and those who sit may not be unsupportive of me. You'll get used to it in the future. Right now, Li Longji liked this kind of atmosphere. He had been standing there for 4 hours, and when he turned around, he had taken what he should have taken. What was the use of him feigning compliance? Xiao Bao and Cuckoo had always not stood if they could sit, and they didn't sit if they could lie down. On the surface, they didn't seem to be respectful to him, but they did things beautifully. How much less did it make him worry? Those who were standing didn't dare to continue standing. Since the emperor had spoken, those who were standing might not be respectful. One by one, they sat down curiously and nervously. Then they looked at the others nearby. Some were drinking water while others were secretly eating. It was really a morning court. Unfortunately, they didn't bring anything to eat. They didn't dare. Who knew it could be like this? Those who are secretly eating, pay attention. There will be more food after the morning court. Don't regret it. The crab is coming. Today's soup dumplings provided by the Success House. Li Longji added. Those who were eating nodded and didn't stop eating. There was still a long time before the morning court ended. They couldn't wait hungry all the time. They would eat first and talk later. The newcomers were stunned. So this was what the morning court was like? They were even given a meal. The Success House was the restaurant of the Zhang family and the Wang family in Sanshui County. No wonder they both wanted to be officials in the capital. Of course, they didn't dare to be presumptuous because of the emperor's easygoing attitude. When they came, they sat in the carriage that made a lot of noise. However, when they saw the former officials standing on the Vermilion Bird Avenue, they all cried out miserably. It was said that the oldest one had been standing for several years and was still alive. The first thing is to commend. No, it's the autumn harvest. This year's autumn harvest is very important. We need to provide large amounts of supplies to the soldiers on the front lines. The soldiers are fighting in the front lines. When the new grain comes, send it to them first. We eat the old grain. I'll eat first. I won't eat new grain until the war stops. Li Longji basically wanted to talk about commending the imperial physicians, but when he said it, he realized that he should talk about proper business first. The autumn harvest. Your Majesty is wise. A voice suddenly sounded and echoed in Hunyuan Palace Hall. The others didn't make a sound. They sat upright. Those who were eating also stopped. Those who were drinking put down their cups. At this time, they couldn't eat and drink anymore. The emperor had spoken. It was disrespectful to eat and drink. The person who shouted had a flushed face. He was new and thought that everyone would shout. However, he found that the surroundings were too quiet. For a moment, he didn't know what to do. Li Longji smiled and said, "Those who are new to the court, remember not to say such useless words. Of course, I'm wise. The second thing is to reward the imperial physicians with a chance to film a movie. We'll publicize the deeds of the physicians in Tang Dynasty." The crowd didn't make a sound. It wasn't a big problem. It was just a movie. After all, Zhang Xiaobao and the others were paying for it. If they wanted to film a movie in the future, they could find Xiaobao and Cuckoo. The third thing is that my movie is already out and there are many copies. Why don't we go to the movie theater that I built first to watch it together? If no one objects, we can eat soup dumplings first and then go together. Li Longji swallowed twice as he spoke. He was also hungry. This subject dares not agree. Yu Wenrong stood up and looked directly at Li Longji. There's no harm in you saying it. Li Longji knew that things wouldn't go so smoothly. This subject hasn't discussed the matter at hand. It's not good to go watch a movie now, right? This subject thinks that we can get off work early in the afternoon and then go watch a movie together. The autumn harvest is waiting. Yu Wenrong changed his righteous attitude and spoke as if he was chatting. Chapter 13:23. Li Longji raised his head and looked at the sky. It was indeed morning, so he could only suppress the idea of asking everyone to watch his movie. For a moment, he seemed resentful. Until now, he still didn't know how much better a movie would be compared to a film made of glass. His subordinates had asked him if he could watch the movie while it was being produced. In order to give a surprise, he refused. It seemed that he still had to endure for a few more hours. Yu Wenrong didn't seem to see the emperor's expression. After he finished speaking, he gave the Minister of Revenue, Wang Bei, a look. Wang Bei had the urge to curse. "Why did you ask me to speak first? I'm in the Ministry of Revenue, not the Agriculture Temple. If you want to know about the autumn harvest, you should ask the Ministry of Works. The Ministry of Revenue can be discussed later." Even though he was thinking this way, Wang Ke's hands did not slow down. He took the small microphone on the table, turned it on, and gently blew on it. A sound came from the loudspeaker hanging 5 meters behind him. He said into the microphone, "This year, according to the news from the Agriculture Temple of the Ministry of Works, there aren't many disasters. The output of rice in the north and wheat in the south should be much higher than in previous years. In order to avoid harming the farmers, the Ministry of Revenue has prepared 20 million strings of money for Chongpingsong. When the main crops are harvested, Chongpingsong will stabilize the grain price of our great Tang. At the same time, the peddlers from all over the country will cooperate to prevent the grain price from being artificially lowered." After speaking, Wang Bei immediately turned off the microphone, as if it was burning his hand. When the officials heard this, they were satisfied. Moreover, they knew that the peddlers from all over the country had nothing to do with the peddlers. They were all powerful merchants. With them cooperating to stabilize the new grain price, there shouldn't be any problem. Li Longji didn't consider the problem of the new grain price at all. He didn't think that anyone would dare to lower the grain price at such a critical time. This was because Pan had said that Baby Candy House had stopped making cakes for some time in order to support the previous war. In other words, if they didn't touch Chongpingsong, the Great Tang would have enough grain. When the new grain came, as long as Xiao Bei and the others gave the order, Baby Candy House would be able to use a lot of the new cakes. Hearing Wang Bei's words, Li Longji felt that Wang Bei was implying something. He asked, Wang Bei, did you notice any bad signs recently? Someone wants to destabilize the price of our great Tang's new grain? Wang Bei turned on the microphone again. After thinking for a while, he said, Your Majesty, ever since Xiaobao proposed the national policy of allowing the locals to organize and sell the food in various places and then use the money to pay taxes, the food production has indeed increased to a certain extent, just as he had predicted at the beginning. What's a certain degree? Li Longji asked. It's because all the people are concentrated in the production. From farming to field management, to fertilizing and weeding, and now the harvest in most areas, the output is estimated to be 30% to 50% higher than before when each household worked alone. Wang Ke replied. He really didn't want to reveal this data. This was all thanks to Zhang Xiaobao. Before this, no one would have thought that when implemented according to the policy, it would produce such good results. Those who had taken over other people's land were very reasonable in the distribution of labor when working, and at the same time, the management of the fields was more perfect. Many officials were unaware of this matter. When they heard Wang Bei's words, they all widened their eyes in disbelief. 30% to 50%. Although there wasn't a specific number because the harvest hadn't been completed yet, it was clear just by looking at the estimated data. At the very least, it would increase output by at least 30%. 30%. Last year's grain output was already high enough. Compared to 10 some years ago, the current annual grain output was more than 3 times that of last year. If this foundation was increased by 30%, the Great Tang's grain supply would be assured. The land was the same, and it was just that the agriculture temple had been doing better and better in recent years. However, the sudden increase in grain output was still inconceivable. Why is that so? Li Longji asked, feeling very happy. Wang Bei took a deep breath and replied, This subject has asked someone. It's because those who rent other people's land and then centralize management are all very smart. Those who aren't capable wouldn't dare to rent other people's land. During the centralization of management, regardless of whether it was the effect of fertilization or the subsequent weeding, there would be people watching over the fields. Moreover, they could adjust the amount of water in the fields according to the changes in weather. If it didn't rain for a few days, there would be people watering the fields. If it rained continuously, there would be people letting the fields water. Compared to the management of the fields last year, the people who grow grain for the people who rent it only need to be responsible for the problems in the fields and don't need to worry about other matters. In the words of the Ministry of Works, it's a change from multiple jobs to a single job. This subject has to admit that Xiaobao's move is very effective. Not only did it reduce the number of people working in the fields and let them do other jobs, increasing the overall income of Great Tang, it also increased the efficiency of the people in the field. On the one hand, it increased the number of people working in other jobs, and on the other hand, it increased the production rate of the fields in the unit. This is something that this subject didn't expect before. With fewer people and centralized management, the grains grew better. This subject is impressed. As for the other matters, this subject feels that it's better for the Minister of Works, Zhang Zhong, to explain. He knows more than this subject. Wang Bei unwillingly used facts to praise Zhang Xiaobao, and then threw another matter to Zhang Zhong to see how Zhang Zhong would explain. A few other people who knew the inside story began to snicker. They felt that the battle between Wang Bei and Zhang Zhong was very interesting. Both of them used various methods to carry out a tacit exchange of interests. It was impossible to say that they were supporting each other, but it was impossible to say that they were undermining each other. It depended on the specific situation. Sometimes, they could even work together. This kind of battle would definitely be very annoying to ordinary people, but it was a scene to see in the court. It was just a game. In any case, it was impossible for one of them to really kill the other. If Wang Bei really had the opportunity to blacken Zhang Zhong through this kind of battle, and then the emperor ordered Zhang Zhong to be killed, it was likely that Wang Bei would first stand up to protect him. On the other hand, if it was Wang Bei, Zhang Zhong would also stand up to protect him. The two of them each had their own forces. They just liked to fight, but they didn't intend to kill each other. They didn't even want to fight each other to the point that the other party quit. How boring would that be? Now that Wang Bei had handed the troublesome matter to Zhang Zheng, a portion of people who knew the inside story watched the show. Zhang Zheng still had that simple and honest appearance of his that was wholeheartedly devoted to the country. In addition, he was still holding a pencil and moving it around in a notebook. At first glance, he gave people the impression that he was an honest person who worked seriously. After Wang Bei changed the topic, Zhang Zheng was still writing something. Li Longji coughed into the microphone, and Zhang Zheng continued to write. Minister Zhang, Yongqing, it's your turn. Li Longji had no choice but to use a more serious tone. Zhang Zheng, who was writing something, raised his head as if he had just woken up. He looked at the emperor blankly. Li Longji was puzzled and said, Minister Zhang, stand up that notebook of yours and let me see. Zhang Zheng didn't dare to disobey and could only stand up helplessly. The people nearby and across from him saw that there were a few cute cartoon pigs drawn on the notebook. There were even circles of lines that the pigs were saying. The words weren't small, so Wang Bei, who was beside Zhang Zheng, deliberately read it out loud. I am a good little pig. I sleep early and wake up early. When I eat until I'm full. The flowers and birds smile at me. Brother Yongqing, good poem. Haha, I didn't expect that the top scorer, Brother Yongqing's writing is better than before. When the others heard Wang Bei read it out loud, they couldn't help but laugh. Even Li Longji couldn't help but laugh. This was someone who had once been the top scorer in the imperial examinations. How could he write something like this? Zhang Zheng's honest face blushed slightly, and he hurriedly explained, I wrote a children's song for my family's auspicious luck. Xiao Bao and Cuckoo aren't around, so my family's inner court has been taking care of it. As a father and uncle, I should write something for my family's Xiao Bao and Bei Bei. I would like to write, today's spring is waiting for autumn, the flowing water and floating clouds should be like this, but the little ones have to be able to understand. If Xiao Bao and Yao Wan were here, I wouldn't have to practice such ugly stick figures. For the sake of the children, so what if I'm the top scorer? After Zhang Zheng finished speaking, everyone stopped laughing at him. Even Wang Bei, who was nearby, gave Zhang Zheng a blessing smile. Everyone knew that Zhang Zheng's son and daughter-in-law weren't able to play with their younger siblings at the moment. They were fighting for the country at the borders. Thus, the education of the four little fellows had to be handed over to others. However, the results couldn't compare to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's personal education. This was a sacrifice. If anyone was unconvinced, they could take a look at Bei Bei's 9 children. At that time, they would understand everything. Yongqing, you've worked hard. Now, let's talk about the consequences of Xiao Bao's policy. After the royal court, I'll personally visit the 4 little fellows and bring them to watch a movie together. We're very willing to do something for the soldiers at the front lines. Li Longji looked to the west and sighed emotionally as he spoke to Zhang Zheng. Zhang Zheng put away his notebook and smiled embarrassedly at the others. He asked in a low voice and knew what Wang Bei was talking about. He said, Xiao Bao's policy has increased the production efficiency of our great Tang's various industries to a certain extent. However, due to the policy, it has also revealed a portion of the smart people. This portion of smart people not only have strong coordination and management skills, they also know how to maximize their own benefits. This subject has heard that a portion of them have already banded together to increase their income during the autumn harvest. They intend to not sell their grain and create a situation where there is a shortage of grain in the market. This will raise the price of the grain in their hands. This subject has already contacted Xiao Bao, but there hasn't been any news yet. I believe that it won't be long before Xiao Bao's countermeasure reaches this subject. At that time, this subject will follow the plan. At this moment, Zhang Zheng didn't deliberately distance himself from this matter. He directly said that he had sent news to his son. Li Longji and the other officials nodded. Just as they were about to speak, someone ran in and shouted, reporting, the 6 edicts of submission have been delivered. The 6 edicts of submission have submitted. You're tuning in to the Narrate and Escape YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.